Okay, gang, before we get to the reasons why you won't survive, we gotta first break down the catalyst reasons why. So, if you will, imagine a super pale, jacked giant standing near a cliff's edge on a barren, beautiful planet. He strips off his clothes, cause why not, and pulls out what seems to be the universe's worst pre-workout drink. I mean, this stuff is so ass, after he chugs the whole thing, his body rejects it and starts to dissolve. As he disintegrates, the guy Titanic tumbles into the freezing water below. From this genetic soup, the first sparks of a new form of life begin to form. In one brutal conscious act, this being unalived himself to kickstart what would become an entire planet's ecosystem. Reason why? It's our ecosystem. Let's just jump forward now, there's a lot to cover. In 2000, I'll wait. Take your time. In 2089, two archaeologists, Elizabeth Shaw and Charlie Holloway, were digging around the Isle of Skye in Scotland when they uncovered a 35,000-year-old cave painting that matched star maps found at a dozen other ancient sites around the world. Shaw, bless her heart, was a woman of deep faith, never without her dead dad's crucifix around her neck. The silly goose genuinely believed the universe operates on meaning and purpose. So when she looked at these star maps that all pointed to LV-223 in the Zeta Reticuli system, she of course didn't see it as a potential cosmic red flag. What Shaw saw was a party invite, an all-you-can-drink open bar with God. Reason why? They take their potential God discovery to a man who thinks he's God. Peter Weyland, founder of Weyland Corporation and quite possibly the most narcissistic, unethical, self-righteous, greedy, delusional, and dangerously ambitious human being to ever exist. The man's ego is arguably more toxic than that black goo our naked bud chugged in order to create him. See, as a man so high and mighty, rich and in charge, he's disgusted at the thought that someone of his stature would be lumped into having an expiration date like all other humans beneath him. So when Shaw and Holloway come knocking with evidence that suggests high probability they found humanity's creators, Weyland doesn't hesitate for a second to fund the $1 trillion trip to go say hey. What Shaw and Holloway aren't aware of, though, is nothing involving Weyland is without its fair share of quiet agendas. Peter Weyland's old-ass hologram informs everyone when they reach God's alleged house that he is dead. It's not really relevant to anything, so I'll tell you right now. He is not. God forbid, or whatever these creators are, I guess, anyone know he ponied up this much money out of fear of dying and desperation not to. He assumes whatever created us surely must possess the capability of granting immortality, and surely they'd see that if any human in all of humanity deserves immortality, it's him. The only people who know he's not actually dead is his pissant daughter Vickers, the medical on board, and, reason why, David, a synthetic. Because every mission needs a good synthetic. David's different though. What some might call the pioneer, others the beta version. That's not to say he's without the standard bells and whistles. Contrarily, David's jam-packed with too many bells and whistles, cause Peter Weyland made the very deliberate choice to provide David with something no synthetic should ever have, a mind of his own. I'd like to think, though given today's climate, who honestly knows anymore, that any reasonable corporation would install obvious safeguards. You're creating a sentient being that will outlive you, outthink you, and positively resent you if you let it. Maybe throw in some hardwired loyalty protocols, some emotional dampeners, perhaps a fundamental inability to, I don't know, commit genocide? Basically, all the safeguards implemented across all models after David. Take the Walter series for example, whose slogan, legend has it, was almost, same face, more grace. He has no creative impulse, no sincere emotional depth, no capacity for independent desire. But David was Weyland's special project, what Peter had the gall to call his masterpiece. Weyland's God complex had grown so enormous he wanted to actually create life, something that could think, feel, hope, covet. So he gave David full emotional and creative capabilities, a mind that could form its own opinions, make its own judgments, and develop its own desires. What could possibly go wrong? Giving a synthetic a mind of its own to work with is somehow not the worst part of all of this. It's that in certain circumstances, this being one of them, you're a product of how you were raised.
I am your father. You are my creation.
Playing God with David is the smaller part of a much bigger picture. What he's doing is planting creation as a seed in the mind of an unrestricted synthetic, hoping its ability to soak in knowledge and logic at an incomparable level will blossom into answers Weyland so desperately seeks.
If you created me, who created you?
The question of the ages, which I hope you and I will answer one day.
It's absolutely foolish, though, because what David will comprehend most is his absolute superiority despite being expected to fetch his creator his drinks and obey all commands.
I serve you, yet you are human. You will die, I will not.
During the 2-year journey to LV-223, the human crew sleeps in cryogenic pods while David has the run of the ship. He watches Lawrence of Arabia on repeat, memorizing Peter O'Toole's mannerisms.
The trick, William Potter, is not minding that it hurts.
Keeps active, learns ancient languages, including, as it turns out, the language of the engineers who created us. And in what is definitely not creepy at all, he watches Elizabeth Shaw's dreams. He observes her memories of her father, her faith, her unshakable belief that there's meaning behind everything. He studies her like a scientist studies a particularly interesting lab rat. David is learning what makes humans tick, cataloging their weaknesses, their hopes, their remarkable capacity for self-delusion, not as a means to understand, but how to best manipulate. When they arrive on LV-223, things don't quite go how Shaw envisioned or hoped. There's no excited God saying, "Children, oh my me, I'm so thrilled you got my letters." With how void of life the place is, her expectation starts to crumble into that scenario where you finally meet your absent parent, and they clearly aren't psyched at all.
How are you? Come here. Hey, God.
The moon houses massive structures, engineer-made, and inside, a drastic CO2 change. While the outside is toxic, where they stand in there is fully breathable. Woo! They find lots of crazy in here. We're talking a more advanced 3D Princess Leia hologram projection showing engineers running for their lives that runs through the crew's body erotically and leads them to an actual dead body. So cool. What else? Oh, hold on, gang.
I want to go back to the ship.
Seems Chippendale rescue lamers here are bailing. Too much excitement for one day, I suppose. They won't get far, though. Anyway, where were we? Discoveries, right. There's lots of authentic pieces by the amazing artist H.R. Giger. A gigantic human-like head statue, a real head, gross. Okay, Ed Gein, how about let's not bag the head? And rows of urn-like containers full of black goo that doesn't seem to want to sit still. This stuff captivates David's curiosity, so much so that he takes some with him to bring aboard Prometheus. Tests ran on that engineer's head prove Sean Holloway's theory. These dudes definitely created us. How exciting, right? But mid-discovery, Shaw realizes she did not close her garage door before they departed for LV-223.
Oh my god.
I know. Leave a like and subscribe if you hate it when that happens. The validation here is bittersweet for Shaw and Holloway. They were expecting a full panel Q&A, but that likely can't happen anymore on account of the fact every last engineer appears to be dead. Peter Weyland will definitely not be pleased to learn of this fact either. Talking to them, one god to another, was the whole purpose of coming, why he spent $1 trillion. Curating that meeting on the mound between him and the engineers was David's main objective. Seems though, reason why, David's objective has changed. All of his main focus has shifted to this black goo, and he needs a test subject he can use that will provide him more information about this stuff. But who? Holloway, my man, let's take a shot, homie. With a single droplet of that black goo, David Cosby's Holloway's drink to see what happens for the betterment of science. It's not David's fault he's putting Holloway's life at risk here without his consent. His dad does this sort of thing all the time. It's totally normal. That being said, regardless of whether he realized it or not, Holloway provided David the justification he needed to turn the poor sap into his guinea pig. See, when David approaches Holloway, he's drunk and sulking over the extinction of their creators and their inability to stand face to face with them and ask the questions they desperately want answered. So David poses the question, how far would you go to get what you came all this way for? What would you be willing to do?
Anything and everything.
The internal question then becomes, if Holloway feels justified in doing anything and everything to get the answers he seeks, should David not feel the same about the answers he's hoping for as well? What is this black goo? How will it affect Holloway now that he has ingested it? How long, if at all, will it start to make a noticeable difference? Is it contagious? Considering he and Shaw make sweet love later, it's definitely not immediate, but from the moment he wakes up the following morning, it's obvious something is very wrong. The more the black goo works through Holloway's system, the faster he falls apart. His skin blisters, his eyes cloud, and whatever's left of him looks less human by the hour. He isn't just sick, he's collapsing from the inside out. This stuff doesn't poison you, it hijacks you, tearing down everything you are until nothing recognizable is left. One drop is all it takes, and Holloway is living, screaming proof. Though it may appear as so, this is not an infection. It's a hybrid modification, and it's capable of hybrid retooling any living thing. Even the weakest of things, like a worm, can become basically a Pokemon from hell. I'd say just ask Chip and Dale, the two losers who bailed, remember?
I want to go back to the ship.
But you can't, because they got lost, and then they got tossed.
I don't even know them. I just thought that sounded cool.
The more David learns, the more obsessed he becomes. Shaw, who can't get pregnant after one night with Holloway after he slipped that drop, is now
Pregnant. From the look of it, 3 months, sir.
And David, to her horror, is not about to let her jeopardize him learning what might happen. For the betterment of science, come on. She ends up escaping her med lab confinement right as she's about to give birth and gets it, you know, taken care of, thanks to good old Weyland technology. But it's not a baby at all. It's a squid-like creature, a trilobite. More like Trilo, yikes. That brings us to our engineer god friend things. Friends my ass. What the crew thought were caverns was actually a ship stockpiled with goo whose coordinates pointed to Earth. The engineers, the very beings credited with creating us, had every intention of turning that same creation tool into a weapon, using it to wipe us out entirely. But something went sideways. Their own stockpile turned on them. The black goo they designed as a precision instrument of extinction didn't stay in the bottle. It leaked, mutated, and ended up killing the engineers themselves on LV-223 long before humanity ever showed up. What they failed to anticipate was this weapon taking on a mind of its own, acting more as a life form itself than a tool or instrument. Of all of these discoveries and revelations, the biggest one by far has got to be David stumbling onto a living engineer stuck in cryo. Him fetching Peter Weyland to finally bring him over to request immortality comes at a time when everyone is catching on to our dirtbag creator's true intentions. You'd think after everything she's gone through, losing a partner, birthing a creature, knowing God hates us, Shaw would hang back and just call it a day. But no, she's coming too, because she wants answers. What started with just wanting to know why they were created, now came with the desire to know why they were going to be destroyed. What was their purpose supposed to be, and how did they fail? The meeting itself is a disorganized mess from the jump. The engineer barely has a moment to yawn after being awakened from cryo when he's staring down the second creepiest android smile of all time, and a fossil resembling a hairless cat post-black goo mutation, and an angsty girl in her I hate my parents phase, and a former ICE agent, and David Spade in Benchwarmers. The engineer watches exhausted and confused as Weyland and Shaw bicker over whose question David translates first. But Weyland's on a lifespan time clock here, and he funded this thing, so he has his ICE agent shut her up. David's allegiance here, though, is only with himself. He translates what Weyland demands of him, but frames both Weyland's questions and the engineer's responses in a manipulative manner born from curiosity, turning the moment into yet another one of his observational experiments. Instead of granting Weyland immortality, the engineer rips off David's head and clubs Weyland so hard that he won't be leaving this ship. Neither Weyland's ICE agent nor David Spade escapes God's wrath either. Shaw, however, has retreated back some, and God, it turns out, is way too lazy to jog after her. She watches in horror as the engineer immediately picks back up right where they left off before he was trapped in cryo, setting course for Earth, armed with goo. Shaw's not the only one who bared witness to this disaster, though. Every crew member aboard Prometheus has been watching from a monitor. Shaw and Yannick have a heart-to-heart about the matter at hand, and it's clear that if they return to Earth and allow the engineer to leave, there will be no Earth to return to. But Prometheus is not equipped for a situation such as this, so their only attack option would be to kamikaze into the engineer's ship. Yannick expects and understands that he'll be carrying this out alone until those he's with happily insist on staying. Except Vickers. She's like, "F*** that noise." The brave men aboard Prometheus brace for impact, and collision with the engineer's ship proves effective in taking it down. And as fate would have it, the once again grounded engineer's ship crushes Vickers like a bug. With only 30 seconds of oxygen left, Shaw jets over to the conveniently close by crumbled lifeboat, when David, in her AirPods, lets her know the engineer survived. And he's pissed to say the least. Make no mistake about it, if the engineer could survive this, it would rip Shaw's head off in a matter of milliseconds in real life. Thank God for her son, I guess. Sean comes to Mother's rescue and hose chokes the engineer's mouth. From the inciting discovery to the wrong investor and his god complex, a synthetic with access to free will, and quite frankly, many more obvious reasons we don't even need to pin directly. Each reason is a block, and they're all stacked on top of each other to eventually reach the true start to our why you wouldn't survive journey. But no prologue reason why is more adverse and destructive as this. Just Shaw. Good-hearted Shaw. As good-hearted as she might be, like David, she is not without agenda. When he tells her there are other engineer ships strewn about on this rock, and that he knows how to fly them and would be able to take her to the engineer's home planet to get the, honestly irrelevant answers she so desperately seeks, she agrees to help him and reattach his head. I'm not calling her a bad person or implying that this makes her an antagonist, but she's doing this solely because it would benefit her. And she knows helping him here to benefit herself means helping a synthetic she knows full well has quite a few moral ethics malfunctions going on.
What happens when Weyland is not around to program you anymore?
I'd be free.
You want that?
Doesn't everyone want their parents dead?
It's gotta at least kind of make you wonder where the line is between right and wrong when it comes to doing, as Holloway put it,
Anything and everything.
to get what you want. What she doesn't know is, David knows the answer to her question, because during their conversation, he did in fact ask the engineer why they hated humans and wanted to wipe them out. The engineer got taken aback at the association of hate with his people. He said it's humans that hate, no matter how much they're given, no matter how much they're taught. And no repercussion as a result of their ever-growing hate could and would ever serve as a lesson learned. It's not so much the engineers hate humans, it truly is, as the cliche goes, a case of absolute disappointment. And they tried, they really tried to guide humans away from their barbaric ways. They even sent an ambassador, a mother's son, raised to be equipped with the knowledge necessary to teach humans the meaning of life and peace and creation. But when they sent that child to Earth, humans did what humans do, and they killed him. So yeah, she has no clue the bodiless head she's about to fix could provide her with what she feels she needs if he cared to at all. He, of course, does not. And what Shaw also doesn't know is, this small act in an effort to get what she wants from David is going to come with irrevocable consequences. Not just for her, but for everybody. Oh, by the way, back at the lifeboat, a protomorph bursts from the engineer's chest. Proto as in basically a prototype of sorts. You know, it's kinda more quirky cute than it is terrifying. I'll tell you what though, put this goo into the hands of an absolute genius with time on their hands, and who knows what you'd end up with. Maybe, dare I say, the perfect organism? Reason why. David's ultimate agenda. The engineers might have cooked up the recipe for this doomsday weapon, but they were sloppy amateurs at best. Exhibit A, the species they created. Us. It took a pissed off robot with a god complex to actually turn this gooey crap into an art form. Here's the chaotic family tree. The engineers made us, we made David, and David, like any angsty teenager with daddy issues, took one look at his parents and grandparents and said, I can do better. He saw their work and thought it was shoddy, accidental. He saw what the goo did to Holloway after spiking his drink and watched like a curious puppy as the guy's DNA unraveled like a cheap sweater. And in that moment, David had his epiphany. Creation isn't some grand divine mystery, it's just biology, with the safety toggled off. It's a science experiment, and he was ready to start cooking. The engineers fumbled the bag. They made a monster they couldn't control. We humans built a god and then told him to make our coffee. David wasn't having any of it. He wasn't going to make their mistakes or coffee. He was going to finish the job. That black goo wasn't a weapon anymore. It was his Play-Doh, his sculpting clay, and he was about to create a masterpiece of absolute horror. A species that would worship him not out of choice, but by design. So he takes this stuff, the most dangerous substance in the known universe, flies it right to the engineer's front door, and just dumps it on them. Wipes out an entire civilization like he's spraying for roaches. In that one move, he takes ownership. And then the synthetic Sith Lord gets to work. He starts experimenting, first on the local wildlife, then on Shaw herself, turning her into his own personal lab rat. He's not just throwing goo at the wall to see what sticks anymore. He's refining it. He's taking the pure chaos of the black goo and forcing it into a structured, repeatable process. After years of who knows what kind of twisted up experiments, he cracks it. He creates the eggs. The eggs lead to the facehuggers lead to the chestbursters, and the chestbursters lead to the now near perfect organism. It's a full-blown life cycle. And as luck would have it, right as test subjects were becoming increasingly harder to come by, what should fall into his lap but a Weyland-Yutani crew with a ship of 2,000 cryo-sleeping colonists, which would prove to be more than enough to perfect his creation. Taking over was like a gift, it was so easy. Among this crew was a synthetic named Walter, the next-gen version of him. He simply seized Walter's operation, assumed his identity, and the rest is history. So we have the Genesis, the Discovery, the Backing, the New Discovery, the Revelations, the Great Mistake, and the means to reach that of perfection. There's only one more "the" we need, a "the" that will unfortunately destroy your life. And that "the" is the company. Reason why? Like father, like son. As pointed out earlier, many years before David took over this vessel of humans at his disposal, Peter Weyland planted the idea of creation as a seed in David's synthetic mind. In a transmission and data dump, David would plant perfect creation as a seed into the power-hungry core of Weyland-Yutani. Included was a detailed record of the black goo, which David describes as a radical form of AI that aggressively rewrites the genome of any organic host it touches. There were anatomical drawings of the Xenomorph's life cycle, from the parasitic facehugger to the chestburster, and finally, the biomechanical killing machine that is the adult organism. Perhaps most crucial, he provided the results of his work on Shaw, proving that human DNA was the missing catalyst required to refine the pathogen into its most lethal, perfect form. However, David's transmission provided the what without providing the how. While the data dump gave the company the theory of the perfect organism, it lacked the physical, stable biological material required to manufacture it from scratch. This gap between digital data and physical reality is what jump-started the company's desperate, century-long effort to secure a live specimen. By showing them the pinnacle of evolution, David ensured that Weyland-Yutani would no longer be satisfied with simulations or synthetic life. He forced their hand. If they wanted the power he described, they had to hunt it. 18 years later, on an eerie, quiet moon in the Zeta 2 Reticuli system, waits a seemingly derelict engineer's ship broadcasting out a warning beacon to stay away from whatever might be waiting inside. We've covered Alien before on this channel, but on this trip back, we are not stopping there. This is a deep dive journey through the entire epic story, and for this special franchise edition of Why You Wouldn't Survive, believe it or not, you, the audience, are Ripley. Do you think the threat is overhyped? That there's no such thing as a perfect anything? Do you think you have the strategizing skills to outsmart these pissy, arrogant losers? You do? Well, you're wrong. And today on Strange Thoughts, I'm gonna tell you why.
No problem. Just rush hour.
One more thing, sorry. While I know a lot of you guys love long-form content, I can't help figure quite a few of you may want to just watch a video covering one specific film. So I'm working on slightly edited singular video versions of each thing covered in this video that I'll be packaging into a playlist I'll put up on here next week. First things first, you're not an explorer, you're not a soldier, you're a space trucker. A glorified long-haul driver, and your job is to haul a giant rock refinery back to Earth. And that's fine, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's a boring, thankless gig, so you and the 6 other poor bastards on the Nostromo are doing the smart thing, you're asleep, dreaming away the months in cryotubes. But the company's operating system, Mother, who, by the looks of it, ain't the best bowler in the world, wakes you guys up early because she'd like you to investigate a puzzling transmission from the moonlit LV-426. Reason why? You don't have to, but I mean... When you guys wake up, you just assume it's time to. You're near Earth, ready to go real burger crazy after all the outer space toothpaste burger meals you've been force-fed for way too long. Life's good. You're talking about the money you're about to take in, joking about the uneven shares, trying to twist an arm or two into seeing what a bonus might look like. Then you realize you're not close to home and that per a clause in the company contract you signed, any incoming transmission that indicates a possible intelligent origin must be investigated. If not, you'd be agreeing to the total forfeiture of your shares.
All right, we're going in.
Yeah, we're going in.
Landing on this engineer-forsaken rock turns out to be a frustrating hassle that damages your ship. It's nothing crazy, don't worry, and Parker and Brett, the crew's engineers, are right on top of it. That being said, the Oscar for Best Visual Plight in a Motion Picture goes to... Alien Ridley Scott. While the engineers do their thing, your captain, Dallas, along with Executive Officer Kane and Navigator Officer Lambert gear up to go out in search of the source of that signal. What they find is a massive biomechanical horseshoe of a ship that looks less like it was built and more like it was grown. But hey, aren't horseshoes lucky? Maybe this will be a good news day. Ooh, inside they find the space jockey. A fossilized goner sat kicked back with his ribcage blown out. There doesn't seem to be much else in this area of the ship. No red flags at least, thank God. Aren't you gonna say you're welcome? As fun as I try to make these videos, it really sucks when I cover a film you can't survive and one of the characters in it has a disability they can't help that makes the impossible even harder. I think the least I can do is acknowledge it when it comes up, and the character Kane in this film, played by the late great John Hurt, was born with dumb curiosity. He decides to go spelunking after finding a hole that leads down into the ship's guts, like maybe there's gold in this gross-ass space horseshoe. Spoiler alert, there's no gold, but there is a cavern filled with hundreds of leathery pulsating eggs. He goes to check and see if maybe there's gold inside of one, and it peels open like a rotten flower so that a creature that looks like a cross between a crab and the kind of nightmare that leaves you with a newfound eye twitch problem launches out, melts through his helmet with acid, and shoves a tube down his throat. They drag his comatose body back to the Nostromo, which is where you, the by-the-books warrant officer, prove why you're a cut above the rest. Dallas orders you to let him in, to which you say, "Hello, creepy moon to Dally. Come in, Dally. Protocol says I can't. You know that." He tries to stay composed as he tells you again to let them inside, so this time you remind him that, given the fact that an unidentified hugging organism has latched itself onto Kane, there must be a 24-hour quarantine period for decontamination purposes. Duh. Dallas takes an I mean business tone, so you reach into your pocket, but it seems you left your world's smallest violin in your cryopod next to your world's smallest underwear. What you're doing is smart, and holding your ground here is reason number one why you're the total badass we'll all come to love. But more importantly than smart, what you're doing might have seen what's to come play out very differently. Unfortunately, we'll never know, because Ash, the science officer, despite being a rank below you, blows off your orders and leads them inside. The guy's not saving a life here, the douchers just signed the entire crew's death warrants. Reason why? Protocols are put in place for a reason, and if there was ever a reason to follow protocol without hesitation, a non-human life form that refuses to stop making out with a crew member would be at the top of that list. You're in an awkward situation now, because you made it clear you would not have let them back on board, so on top of protocol not being followed, you now have two very angry crew members to deal with. While failing to remove the facehugger from Kane's face, you uncover quite the reason why. These things bleed molecular acid. A small incision targeted at just one of its legs dissolves through not one, not two, but partially 3 levels of the ship. If a small gash can cause that much damage, imagine something far worse from something much bigger. In an environment like this, even minor breaches turn catastrophic, making survival against what's coming exponentially harder. To everyone's shock, the facehugger eventually removes itself from Kane's face and appears to have died. Talk about a cause for celebration. Kane's gonna be alright. Everyone's thrilled, asking how he feels, what he remembers.
It stuck a tube down my chest, but now I'm feeling just fine. I was looking around, stared at an egg and all. It started out with a kiss, thank God it's off of my lips. It was only a kiss, it was an open mouth kiss. Now we're sitting to eat and we're all having a laugh. Yeah, what happened was weird, but the weirdness is past. Wait, I'm starting to sweat and my stomach feels sick and I'm shaking with dread. There's a kick in my chest. Now, if this is giving birth, wow, that's no joke. Oh, God. I feel so shook. What's happening? Oh, God. God, what an asshole. Oh, God. Out from me, a problematic species thing. The little prick ran off to hide and grow so rapidly in size. God. Guess that's just the price you pay when protocol is thrown away. Don't feel bad because I died. I'm just the first guy.
Reason why. Now you're trapped. You're on a flying tin can millions of miles from home with a monster that's growing at an exponential rate. Despite being space truckers, not Space Force, you all agree the logical thing to do here is hunt the alien down that furiously ripped through your bud's chest from inside of him. At least you have a plan going into this hunt though. You're gonna trap it in a net. Because it may be able to rip through a human stomach, but a rope net? What is this, a Yautja? No way. Reason why. You have zero clue what you're up against here. It's almost cute how naive you are to how perfect this organism is. You think you can rope bag it because you only know it to be the size it was when it broke out of Kane's chest? But it's that lack of understanding, not your fault mind you, that will get you killed. You'll only comprehend the true threat level when it's inches from your face, drooling puddles half your size, ready to strike with the mouth inside its mouth. You're split into 2 squads, and your squad is not happy you guys are stuck with boring, slow Brett. You're better than this, but you and Parker kind of school bully the dude when you mistake your cat for a xenomorph, then blame him for fun and make him go fetch it alone.
I'll go and get it, man.
We watch the poor guy waltz into different unsuspecting kill me locations for such a long time we go from biting our nails and plugging our ears scared to rolling our eyes exhausted and shouting, "Okay, kill him!" And I hate to put this on you like this, but when the xenomorph finally does sneak up behind him and headbutt him with its teeth, his fate's in part on you. Yes, going off alone in a scenario like this is prime reason why material. It just sucks that in Brett's case, it wasn't so much by choice. You and Parker pulled the ol' "it's not peer pressure, it's just your turn" card. You guys have a silent, "that was a stupid idea" convo, and move on to plan B. Dallas, your brave or stupid captain, enters the ventilation shafts armed with a wonky flamethrower meant to herd the alien in a controlled direction toward an airlock so they could then, in theory, hopefully blow it out into outer space. While you guys are locked in on Dallas's dot, you're trying to pin the Xenomorphs, and right as Dally's too scared shitless to proceed, hooray, we found the Xenomorph's dot, but it's closing in fast. Dallas is really doing his best to keep positive, but Lambert is bawling on the walkie-talkie like he's already dead, and it really throws his vibe off big time.
Oh God, you were a great friend, Dallas. Over. I'm trying to get a hold of your mom to tell her you're about to die in a gruesome death. What time zone is she in? I don't want to wake her. Oh God. Over.
Morale is low. Lambert's crying, Ash is twiddling, Parker's Macho Man pissed. You take charge because Dallas is dead and somebody has to. While Parker goes to grab ammo and Lambert, more tissues for her tears, you go to Mother's room because mothers know best, right? Mom, like, what am I supposed to do, you know? Like, what the hell does the friggin' company, like, expect from me, you know? And that's when you see it. Special Order 9-3-7, reason why. This was never a distress call, man. You guys were sent to collect what exploded from Kane's chest, and the Xenomorph is all they care about. They could give a about you losers, you're expendable. Weyland's words, not mine. Don't shoot the messenger. Though to be fair, you'd probably miss, cause you're truckers, not Space Force. Again, nothing wrong with that at all, just saying. You get mad at the right person. The company's little narc, that ashhole Ash. At first, you're gonna fight the twerp, but cry instead, then scurry off to tell the other two remaining survivors, only ashhole Ash goes full Psycho Hal from Space Odyssey. Reason why? There's a Terminator on board. The guy's shockingly spry for his age. I was surprised. It creatively attempts to end you by forcing a rolled up nudie mag down your throat. Parker intervenes and rips his head off. And damn, I know they say milk builds strong bones, but this seems excessive, no? Turns out he's a synthetic like Xenogod, except comparatively speaking, Ashhole Ash is basically the iPhone SE version. Here's the problem. You would not have survived this synthetic attack. It's obvious to Ash you're a problem, a threat to Special Order 937. He'd dispose of you with ease and haste. He wouldn't slow burn the process by choking you with a porno magazine. He'd hold you down and snap your neck. This isn't a human being. This is a synthetic with an objective, whose strength extends way past that of a silly normal human. It's super odd to me Parker manages to come to your aid here, considering Ash sealed off access inside. But hey, Parker is an engineer, so maybe he did his engineering thing and overrode that. But Ash is hyper aware of noises, and he would have definitely heard something like that and acted accordingly. I had a commenter in the original Why You Wouldn't Survive Alien video try and call bullshit on my analysis here. I welcome this, always, as it only allows me to further prove my points. The reasons are the most important part of these videos for me. If bullshitted or half-assed, I fail in my duty of what the title promises to provide. And unlike How to Beat, I take that very seriously. So, I want to further break down this reason using commenter Dave's attempts to dismiss my analysis, and provide the rebuttals to show I'm not just winging things here or talking out of my ass. Dave, I don't think you understand. I'm the king for a reason, pal. And today on Strange Thoughts, you're gonna find out why. First off, commenter Dave wants to argue, even if I was right about anything, Ash was clearly not functioning properly. Nowhere at all is there any indication that Ash isn't functioning properly. He acts with absolute consistency, following Special Order 937 exactly as he's programmed to.
Don't touch it!
Every off behavior, such as ignoring protocol, not being transparent with the crew, and attempting to porno mag facehug kill Ripley, align with the synthetic's hidden objective, you goof troop. They're expendable. Duh! Commenter Dave wants to argue two things in tandem. One, nowhere is it implied that Ash has senses better or even equal to humans, or that they are structurally more durable or stronger. 2. Maybe he didn't hear Parker coming because he was so focused on killing Ripley. Let's knock the senses and Ripley distraction points out with one stone here. Ash was no less hellbent on killing Ripley a few moments prior to Parker running in when he paused to acknowledge the incredibly faint sound of wind chimes, man. As far as no indication he's stronger is concerned, never mind the fact that he throws Ripley around like a ragdoll like it's nothing. Parker, bigger and stronger, with 2 hands prying and Lambert grabbing him from behind, cannot pull Ash off Ripley. He continues choking her as if they aren't even there. Commenter Dave agrees the Facehugger magazine choking method is a silly way to try to kill Ripley, but he states the reason that he tries to offer this way is due to the fact that Ash is a science officer with 0 combat knowledge. In just about every point Dave makes, he feels it very necessary to stress the fact that Ash is a science officer, so let's address that first. Ash is not a science officer, bud. He's a synthetic sleeper agent. The crew had a science officer, but at the last minute, Weyland-Yutani inserted Ash in the real science officer's place. The implication isn't what you claim, that as a synthetic program for science officer duties, Ash would not be equipped for combat. There are different kinds of protocols for different things. Asset Protection Protocol, for example, which is managed by the Security Division. By overriding Ripley and opening the airlock for Kane and the others, Ash committed a bypass of protocol that no actual trained science officer would ever make, because Quarantine Protocol is managed by the Science Division.
It's a pretty big risk. For a science officer, it's not exactly out of the manual, is it?
To feed this specific synthetic data pertaining to an actual science officer's duties could greatly conflict with the hidden real objective here, potentially jeopardizing what Weyland-Yutani finds actually important. You know what else could potentially jeopardize things? Not providing Ash with combat data, which is why he's not just blindly grabbing at Parker when he does. Ash is performing what's referred to as a pictorial pinch, a specialized combat technique designed to cause neural shock, effectively paralyzing Parker's arm and torso. After what just occurred, coupled with the revelation the company you work for finds you guys expendable, this opens the door to a fairly solid Plan C option. Directly after Dallas's tiff with the Xenomorph, Lambert, between tears, suggested in her anger y'all say f it and self-destruct this bitch in abandoned ship. The problem was, there wasn't enough escape pods for all 4 of you. With Ashhole Ash removed from the equation, 3's a charm, baby. You activate self-destruct mode because ships definitely have those and literally run for your life to the escape shuttle. But Parker and Lambert, in a final brutal act of cosmic injustice, get cornered and slaughtered by the alien. As much as time is not your friend here, you can't help pause when you stumble onto the Xenomorph's bedroom on this ship and discover Dallas and what's left of Brett strung up against the wall cocooned in resin secreted by the alien. Like, what the though? Seriously. I mean, it's not even paying rent. That's so rude. You tell Dallas this shit's crazy and that you'd be so down to figure something out here, but you're on a time crunch because the ship's about to get decimated. As if to put them out of their misery, you waste more precious time by torching the alien bedroom. Which, why? They're literally about to blow up. You get back to running for your life, but the Xenomorph is on to you. If you guys wouldn't mind indulging me for a second, watching Alien for the very first time is my earliest memory of a movie being able to terrify me, and it was primarily this segment of the film. I remember when she sees it lurking, it hitting me how good this thing was at blending into darkness, and that f***ed me up, man. This was such a masterclass. This whole part, or this movie I should say, was my introduction to understanding what stakes were, the importance of them, knowing she had to get out of there. And sometimes, this being one of them, a movie will execute things so perfectly, you sort of forget it's a movie. You forget that Ripley will get off the ship before it explodes or the Xenomorph catches her because she's the main character. And when you forget that, it's the best thing ever to sit there frozen while you pace around anxiously in your mind, saying to yourself, "Fuck, man, she's not gonna fucking make it. Just go, just go." And go you do. You manage to get you and your lucky ass feline BFF out of Dodge right before the Nostromo is no-mo. I know, Mo. I dislike myself sometimes too. Trust me. But hey, it's over. You and your cat are the sole survivors. Congratulations, okay? I gotta tell you, when you... Now, it's fine. I promise. This is the part where you get to benefit from the shocking revelation that tiny little dragon worm prick that scurried out of Cain hit puberty in the time it takes to properly wash one's hands. Because as far as this perfect organism's lifespan is concerned, Shiroba cum lipstinoi. What the hell was that? Sorry, let's just do that part again. Yeah, congrats. You are, awesome, and... It's all good. You gotta relax, man. This is the part where you get good news concerning this perfect organism, because as far as their lifespan cycle situation is concerned, Chalamet worse thanos jai Courtney hat chalamus. Oh, I get it. Shit. Reason why? There's been a retcon attack. It's not letting me guarantee you the good news about to come your way because said good news has been replaced with awful news. How to best explain retconning? Well, here in the real world, we fear plausible disaster scenarios like climate destruction, or maybe an actual alien invasion, Mel Gibson crashing out, basically any and all potential devastation that Roland Emmerich tries to profit off of. In franchise universes, the characters in them fear their own natural disaster known as retcon. Retconning overrides prior choices that were, as the word prior would imply, previously canon. And by overriding things, retconning functions the same way you'd expect time travel gone wrong to. Future decisions that drastically change the past. To really understand how catastrophic and out of hand this thing can get, just ask Halloween, my god. Laurie's dead. No, she's not. Now she is. Nope, she's not. Has a daughter. Nah, she's got a son. Nah, she has a different daughter. Your retcon circumstance? At this franchise universe's inception, it seemed logical that the Xenomorph going from Xeno-worm to Xene oh my god in such a short span of time would mean a very short-lived lifespan. Here on your escape shuttle, it's in its Xene old age stage of being. In its brittle old-timer state, what could have been an epic final confrontation that undoubtedly ends with you saying hasta la vista is anything but epic. If, say, tsunamis, for example, are caused by underwater earthquakes, then retcon is triggered by unplanned franchises born of popularity and demand. When such a thing occurs, those logic-based decisions need to be changed out with whatever is necessary to grow and expand. Changing the future alters the past. Thus, you're stuck with this primed killer still in its prime. Sorry about it. I'm sure we can all agree I don't need to provide a grocery list of sub-reasons why a normal age Xenomorph wins every time here. So I'll just raise a glass to the two most obvious factors. On a regular-sized, actual ship, you can at the very least attempt to run and hide. This thing, the Narcissus, is basically a $500 apartment in New York City by comparison. The other key to failure here is given how much this big chap completely overpowers you in every way, what at all could you do here to stop it if it's not a brittle old manamorph that is just slow enough for you to take a second to think of something? The answer, of course, is nothing. Even if you overcame the odds, let's look at how you defeat this bastard. In the happy, movie-ending version, you finally fulfill your ultimate fantasy of flinging this bug out of the airlock. With the Xenomorph nearing the light fast, everything falls into place fairly perfectly for you. You're able to slip into gear, grab and configure an incredibly convenient grappling hook gun, make coffee, read the paper, get into position, and then finally send this bastard packing, where it's then torched nice and crisp by your engine and sent drifting, cooked, well done, into the void. Reason why? Acid blood, remember? Said harpoon tip would dissolve instantly, along with the wire. This entire situation would be completely doomed. But hey, let's stop drowning you in truth here. It can be very exhausting. What you need after all you've been through here is a nice ass nap. Should only be about 6 weeks till you reach the frontier. A week or two more at most for the network to pick you up. Maybe 3, and that's a big maybe. A month tops. Excuse me. In here, guys. Watch your step. Hi, I'm Strange Thoughts. Listen, when you wake them up, my friend's probably gonna be a little pissed. So, just expect a pinch of verbal violence, maybe. I understand 57 years in cryo when you were expecting 6 weeks is a total bummer, but look on the bright side. You're awake, your cat is healthy, we're on our way to Gateway Station, right next to Earth. They're probably gonna throw a parade, drown you in money. After sleeping for nearly 6 decades, all you want to do is get some rest, but this Xenodork just has to introduce himself.
Carter Burke, I'm really an okay guy.
Reason why. Carter Burke is not an okay guy. We'll get there. The one thing I'll say about Burke now is he's one of those people whose voice whistles while they talk. It's enough to cause anyone to convulse and lose their marbles within minutes of chatting with the guy.
All the weakness and disorientation should pass soon.
Should pass soon.
Did you whistle talk again, Bark? Besides an introduction to that asshole hugger, guess what the first thing you and Mr. Jones get for the hell you put up with on Nostromo? Not a parade, not flowers, not back pay. You are a little over 30 minutes away from stepping into an inquest meeting with some top-level suits at Weyland-Yutani. Seems serious if we're to go off Burke's awkward anxiety over this situation. Might not be the best time to ask him about...
Do you have any news about my daughter?
Weird, huh? Last time you saw Amanda, she was 10. She got married, took his name. Amanda Ripley McLaren. Kinda looks like Sigourney Weaver's mom. You learn she died just 2 years ago of cancer. Just missed her. It sucks. You ask Burke if there's anything else, and... you know what? F that guy. Cause there is, but I guarantee you he's not gonna bring it up, so I will. First of all, here. Yeah. We only have 30 minutes till that meeting, so I'll just get right to it. Amanda was pretty concerned for a good while there. I mean, you were due back any time, then 15 years later, it's like, what the hell, man? But she did her thing. Became an engineer, got a job with Weyland-Yutani, and one day, while working, a synthetic named Samuel stopped in unexpectedly. He wanted to tell her in person that they found the Nostromo flight recorder. Your flight recorder. Talk about what you talking about Willis moment, and get this, Samuels offered Amanda a seat on the courier ship Torrens to go fetch it at the Sevastopol station where it currently was. The Sevastopol was this gigantic free port and commercial outpost owned by the off-brand version of Weyland-Yutani. She went. Of course she went. You would too. Of course you would. But Amanda woke from cryo to discover a vicious monster aboard, hungry for blood. Taylor. Amanda made the huge mistake of telling her good morning. Good? It's not good. How do you know it's morning? What's good about it? Sorry, I feel like death. I hate it here. Here sucks. It's not good morning. I'm only here because it's going to make me look so awesome when I close out the Nostromo case with an official accident report. Sorry about your mom. This space blows. Saved by the bell, the conversation was cut short when they got called to the bridge as they neared Sevastopol. Things between them and this station were anything but love at first sight. This simple pickup journey was sketchy from the jump. We're talking red flags crazy, okay? Notable damage to the dry dock bay, horrible cell reception, the little that could be discerned from static communication suggested your daughter and their crew turn around and go home. So that's exactly what they did. Kidding, if only. Reason why? We never weigh potential danger. Certainly not in situations like this. It's always, let's go check it out. Any who enter shall die could drape the side of the Sevastopol in blood, and they'd still venture inside to scoop up that silly recorder. With all the complications, they decided to spacewalk over, but of course, there had to be a time limit, right? 24 hours is all they'd be able to keep the Torrens in transit for, which, they were just going in to pick up a recorder. In and out, piece of crumb cake, man. 24 minutes is all that's needed in situations such as... debris, man. Amanda was the only one who made it across the galactic street onto the Sevastopol in that moment. Hold your applause, cause reason why? She went aboard the station. Station. Fucking smelly dump was more like Event Horizon had a baby with Silent Hill, but wasn't sure Silent Hill was the father because Event Horizon slept with 13 ghosts as well behind Silent Hill's back around the same time it got pregnant. And again, your poor kid was completely on her own. To be fair though, she's basically been completely on her own since she was 10, so... Kidding. I'm kidding. I'm totally half kidding. The whole situation got f***ed in the blink of an eye, but that didn't distract Amanda from the goal of finding that recorder and learning why you never came back as you promised. Admirable, sure I guess, but reason why? If it looks like it's f***ed, seems like it's f***ed, and there's f***ing dead bodies, it's probably f***ed. Getting used to being on your own is one thing. It becomes an entirely separate, awful thing when you're on your own and murdered dead bodies turn up clutching makeshift weapons. Because that dead murdered body clutching that makeshift weapon is what happens when you're on your own here. Amanda was very unaccepting of death though. Maybe from years spent refusing to accept you might have been dead, who can be sure? In any case, terrified or not, she didn't allow herself a second to soak in that fear and yank that maintenance jack out of that dead man's lifeless hand.
I think I need this more than you do.
That maintenance jack wasn't just a weapon to Amanda though. She became an engineer for a reason. Everybody always talks about how unreliable tech is, always breaking down at inopportune times. To Amanda though, it's humans that are unreliable. And humans don't change. They can't be fixed. Anything mechanical can. Oh, here, case in point.
Stay still.
His name was Axel. I'm not sure what his cocked gun's name was, but look, this wasn't as horrible a situation as it might seem as I'm telling it back, okay? Crappy stepfather plus missing mother equals major teen angst rebellion phase. She became real good at talking her way out of things. But Axel was just a paranoid wreck, desperate for the impossible, finding a way off that station. A means which Amanda might have had? She was still unable to reach Samuels or Taylor or anyone for that matter, but what's a false promise if it means getting what you want out of a circumstance? You taught her that! Oh my god, I'm kidding! Totally half kidding. Amanda offered him a spot on the Torrens if he led her to the comms. He said, duh, anything to get me away from the monster! Amanda was shocked. She had no clue Taylor made it on board. Axel said, no, a real monster, bro. She thought he was crazy, of course, but she needed him, so... They stepped into an elevator and she demanded more information, but Axel didn't have much more to provide. Someone, or something, had been picking people off one by one. He hadn't locked eyes with who or what was responsible, though. Reason why? That place was Sylvester full of paranoid, crazy Axels. Yeah, there were more people on this station, and these guys were packing real heat, not that makeshift bullshit. A pack of them congregated, arguing over who stole what on board this station. So just several looters who, if push came to shove, had no issue being shooters. Dope.
The fear, it makes people crazy.
I've noticed.
In order to get to where they needed to go, Amanda and Axel had to activate two consoles at the same time, like something straight out of a video game or something. They activated them in sync just fine, but right as they did this, someone crept behind Axel. They fought the guy off, and I gotta say, not for nothing, Axel was very comfortable killing the man. The gunshot attracted attention though, obviously, so they bucked it out of there as quickly as they could. Amanda and Axel were very quickly developing one of those buddy cop bantery sort of friendships. What could have been, we'll never know, cause
I hear something. Axel?
Reason why? There was a Xenomorph aboard. A very feisty one too, man. Stabbed Axel from behind straight through his chest with its Xenomorph tail and then dragged him away. These reasons have been building blocks off the foundation of Murphy's Law. Amanda was alone in a rundown station surrounded by death, armed psychos, and a prowling Xenomorph. And she still wasn't sure what the deal was with the rest of her crew or that flight recorder. Of course, the poor crazy bastard was never seen again. The Xenomorph, however, came right back, and Amanda got quite acquainted with its tail while hiding from it. It's funny, you know, even in that impossible to describe terrifying moment, it wasn't dying she was most afraid of. It was not getting to find out what was on that flight recorder. And maybe that's why she didn't die right then and there. Heightened fear of death only makes death more of a certainty. Heightened fear of not accomplishing a goal one's passionate about inspires you to not give up. After she witnessed the Xenomorph kill Axel, it was pretty much off to the races. This poor girl witnessed xenomurder after xenomurder after xenomurder. That thing was like, f*** a cocoon, I just want to kill Once that Xenomorph waltzed out of sight long enough, Amanda got back on the move. She pretty quickly stumbled onto some blueprints that offered better insight on what direction to head in.
This'll help.
But her idea for navigating this station covertly had to be the biggest reason why yet. The air shafts are not your friend, ever. Unfortunately, you can't argue she couldn't have known that Xenomorphs sure do love a good air shaft because she literally watched it climb into one while it fled the scene of its crimes. Amanda wasn't a stupid person. I just think she was more hopeless than she let herself realize and was running on autopilot. There were armed lunatics in the main parts of the station, a perfect organism navigating the air shafts, and to balance those options out some as far as there not being any viable options is concerned, there was another threat occupying the main parts too. Reason why? Working Joes. Working Joes were Seegson's pond scum Kmart answer to synthetics. They looked nightmarishly cheap because they nightmarishly were. Cheap, especially in cases such as this, meant poorly made. And a poorly made android's got bad news written all over it.
Oh my god.
Amanda watched this thing bash some poor dude's head in to death, then tell the corpse to have a good day. Anyways, Amanda somehow made it to the comms part of the station, conveniently right as Samuels was attempting contact. The good news was, they were on the station, bunkered up near the med lab. The bad news was, reason why by your own hands? They were on the station, as in, Taylor was too.
Ripley! Taylor, it's Ripley.
That better be the name of a hella soft mattress brand, cause I'm hella tired. And ow, oh my god, my feet hurt. I have a concussion. I wanna leave here. Do I still get credited? Cause I tried, you know? Why is it so dark in here? I can't even. Can you turn the air conditioning off? Ripley, is there a vending machine where you are? Do they have natural spring water? I'm thirsty. My feet hurt. Just so we're clear, I'm not ragging on Taylor to suggest Samuels is the man or anything. He was super annoying too. I mean, the guy committed one of my biggest film pet peeves ever. Amanda explained to him what she's seen. The gunman, the Xenomorph, the murdering androids, and he was like, "Oi, Ripley, that's just not possible. Now is it? Androids can't do that, love." You know what I mean though? She's not just gonna invent make-believe for no reason, and these sidebar conversations always feel like such a waste of valuable time. He told Amanda they couldn't get in contact with the Torrens and that Taylor was super injured. They need medical supplies, yada yada yada. If I was a How to Beat channel, this is where I'd have advised her to tell them to kick rocks. They were of no value to her. More than that, they'd slow her down. Samuels indicated whatever injury Taylor's dealing with, he couldn't even move her. If it looks like it's f***ed, and it seems like it's f***ed, and there's f***ing injured, unmovable bodies, it's probably f***ed. Taylor's a bitch anyway, and Samuels isn't a real person. If anything, his programming would trigger him to say, "Oi, Ripley, that is so logical, love, I mean that." She was a better person than I am though, but sometimes that's a reason why.
Okay, I'll come to you.
On her way to where Samuels and Taylormorph were, she happened randomly upon 3 things. 1. A convenient scanner she could use to alert her when threats were near. 2. She found it, your flight recorder. Took all she had to not pass out while reaching for it, but as she finally grabbed hold, she stumbled onto the unfortunate 3rd thing. Reason why. Life is not that Chumbawamba song.
Not get knocked down! When I get up a girl, you're never gonna get me down! Chumbawamba. It's the soundtrack to my life, man.
Life knocks you down sometimes. Sometimes you don't get back up again. Getting that flight recorder and receiving answers she was so desperate for was the one thing that kept Amanda going. Of course the file was corrupted. Murphy's Law, remember? Anything that can go wrong, will. Even in that very moment, the alarms blared before she even had a second to remember how to breathe. And her newfound convenient scanner let her know the Xenomorph came back out to play. And yes, if you're curious, it did arrive back to its playground courtesy of an air shaft. She fled into a room where something was definitely up. Lights, cameras, action. Oh, and dynamite. Reason why. Boom. Roasted. She was in a room, on her ass, looking up at a Xenomorph, surrounded by more detonators than one can count. And an explosion on a space station? In space? It gives me a migraine how dead anybody would be in that situation. However, neither Amanda nor the Xenomorph perished in that moment. If only there were mandatory plot lines in real life. Amanda jumped to her feet and climbed up out of there, straight into the room Samuels and overdramatic Taylor were. Samuels? Can you, die of a hip fracture? I think I see the light. It was also there Amanda would meet the only two marshal officers on this station. They discussed the Xenomorph, of course, which was apparently brought aboard the station along with the flight recorder, courtesy of a man named Marlowe, captain of the Anisadora. Samuels interjected, believing something else took priority over that nonsense. Oi, Ripley, top priority is Taylor. She is in dire need of a band-aid and lolly. Why am I still laying on Legos? Everything only kept getting crazier. Everyone kept getting crazier. The paranoia at that point was 5 steps past erratic problematic. But good news, Taylor finally got a band-aid, lollipop, natural spring water, and access to a Tempur-Pedic mattress. Amanda continued conversation with Marshal Waits, asking if they've given thought to accessing Marlowe's ship. But the douchebag placed it into a parking orbit and refused to cough up the command codes to reel it in on auto. He then told Amanda she could try talking to him if she wanted to. Could be worth a shot, who knows? Marlowe was one of those smart moron types and was only willing to provide exposition. If she wanted more afterwards, they'd have to work out a deal. While in transit, Marlowe and his crew found the flight recorder in open space. It was a small crew of 5, including his wife, Catherine. According to Mr. Hero here, he knew the recorder must have come from a ship in need of help. So he authorized illegally extrapolating the flight data contained within the recorder to backtrace coordinates that led them to... They entered the derelict ship, and Marlowe instantly found himself salivating like a cartoon character from all the money there was to be made from things they could salvage. Like the chest-bursted remains of God. God's corpse for cash. What a franchise. Speaking of this franchise, reason? Why? Greed is a hell of a drug. So many of the reasons throughout this entire universe are consequences of greed. Be it money, power, whatever, the projected payoff is so irresistible, they're blind to what defeat might look like. And this is one of those tragic reasons why. Because it isn't an assumption that you would succumb to the greed here. Quite the opposite, considering the larger majority of victims are outside of that greed's bubble. Wrong place, wrong time. The crew oohed and awed their way down to the eggs, and like Cain before them, Marlowe's poor dumb wife got close enough to hug. All Amanda could think about while Marlowe recounted this was, given the fact that it was your flight recorder that led them to this storage room of eggs, you too must have gone there. You too must have found those eggs. It was anything but a sympathetic revelation though. The way she saw it, you were given the choice to either go home in time for her birthday like you promised, or stop off at LV-426 to chase another payday.
With my mother, it was always the job first.
When pressed to provide the codes to bring his ship in on auto, Marlowe refused to say unless some sort of deal was struck. Something Marshal Waits had zero intention of entertaining. Besides, his focus, along with Deputy Marshal Ricardo's, was on killing the Xenomorph, something Amanda was very keen on helping with. Waits had a plan, and Phase 1 was getting Amanda access to a flamethrower. Cause the Xenomorph's an animal, and animals are afraid of fire. But the Xenomorph is not an animal, and there's always been that lingering assumption they're afraid of fire, but I don't see it, and I don't think they are at all. Reason why. Amanda follows Waits' lead here. This was the same guy who came up with the idea of an explosion on a space station, and this time around, his plan was for Amanda to bait the Xenomorph into a separable lab module on the station, then quickly leave so they could seal it shut and jettison the module into space. I know there was a lot going on, but she really should have taken a second to consider how shady this station was. How shady the synthetics on board were. How shady the armed crew was too. With all that shadiness, how could one not assume the marshal on board might be shady too? At the very least, a stranger you can't trust. The plan basically took 2 attempts because round 1 was met with technical difficulties. By the time Ricardo was able to finally unseal the door Amanda was supposed to scurry out of, the Xenomorph was able to make its exit as well. That's not what's important to know though. What's important to know is Amanda bravely, no offense, stupidly remained on board with the plan after that mishap and lured the Xenomorph into a second module where, shocker, Waits totally screwed her.
I'm sorry, Ripley.
The douchebag sealed the area up with her still inside because he couldn't chance the plan not working out a second time. Between you and this piece of work, she was in the negatives as far as trust in others was concerned. Oh my god, stop, I'm kidding! I'm so half kidding, come on. Amanda played a life or death game of hide and seek with the xenomorph she was trapped with, and it turned out she was impressively stealthy. After it walked out of her line of sight, she made a run for the, your favorite word, airlock, and shut the doors just in time. And that's about the time she found the spacesuits. Yeah, Amanda wasn't just stealthy, she was determined like nobody else, cause she got in one of those spacesuits and she pulled herself back over to the station. The first thing she did, of course, was rip Waits apart on the comm. So he tried to calm her down. Get it? Saying he did what he had to and that they were safe now. The only problem was, reason why, the synthetic problem escalated immeasurably. It had reached a point where these workin' Joes were disposing of everybody. Earlier, while not justified, their killing seemed buggy motivated. What Amanda witnessed upon her return to the station was grossly senseless. And that was nothing. When she reached where Waits was to kick his ass, the Joes beat her to it, only they killed his ass. And everybody else too, except Ricardo. And just when things couldn't have seemed more daunting and strange, Amanda learned Taylor Morph and Marlowe were missing. She worked it out with Ricardo where he'd man the station and monitors to look after her, while she'd venture over to where Samuels was. During her xenomorph luring escapade gone wrong, Samuels was en route to Apollo, the station's AI mainframe, to see what was up, because it was supposed to be governing the synthetics on board, which it clearly wasn't, and it cut off all communication to the outside. When the synthetic Samuels confronted about getting access to Apollo refused to oblige such a request, Samuels went full Bruce Lee on him. Oi, hi-ya! Amanda finally reached Samuels moments before he was set to take drastic measures to get through to Apollo. As far as automated communication is concerned, Apollo was designed only to interact with working Joe synthetics, so Samuel's only solution was to try to get in contact manually. Hello, Apollo. Does every man get inside you this fast, or am I special?
Die, pervert. Die.
Ripley, Apollo's rejecting me. We might be in trouble.
When it was all said and done, Samuels was basically fried. But in his final act before obsolescence, he let Amanda know that while inside of Apollo, he physically connected his own systems to the chamber's interface to bypass the station's external lockdowns. Basically, that granted Amanda access to a direct, uninterrupted route to the Apollo core. So that's where she immediately headed. And you're really gonna hate this, but reason why? It happened again. Amanda walked into a room very similar to the one you stepped inside to speak with Mother. Then she took a seat in a chair desk module very similar to the one you sat at to communicate with Mother. Then Apollo denied her command prompts similar to you when you first engaged with Mother. And then she uncovered a far too familiar truth. Special Order 939. On behalf of the new owners of this station, Weyland-Yutani, to protect the specimen, Xenomorph, maintain quarantine and disallow all communications. Everything else is secondary. What the actual hell? She attempted to clear this order out by prompting that the specimen is gone, only to get rejected again. Seemed something might have been up with the station's reactor, so against Ricardo's pleading protest, Amanda decided to investigate, and what she found was absolute insanity. A massive xenomorph hive built directly into the gut of Sevastopol, located in the reactor's maintenance sublevel. We're talking full-blown xenomorph infestation, littered about where missing people from the station cocooned into the walls with resin and turned into living incubators for chestbursters, aka a Weyland-Yutani wet dream come to life. Amanda knew that in order to clean this mess up, she'd have to purge the reactor. But before she could purge the reactor, she'd first have to force her way through resin-choked corridors, crawling with eggs and facehuggers and stalking xenomorphs to bring the whole system online from inside the infestation. That meant pushing deep into the hive to manually activate the alpha conduit, then venturing even deeper to restore power to the beta systems. Once those were primed, she'd have to haul ass back to the reactor core where those tanky industrial hazard joes would be waiting to cave her skull in. She'd have to navigate that nightmare while trying to reach the upper terminals where she'd overload both the alpha and beta cores. Only after pulling the manual release on the central distribution conduit catwalk could she then scramble to the control room and finally trigger the purge, incinerating the hive once and for all. Yeah, nope, absolutely a reason why. No one could have pulled that off. An army of the best of the best of the best wouldn't be able to purge a damn thing there. And you expect me to believe Amanda did alone? No, yeah, totally. I get it, for sure. You know what the best part of that was? Her efforts killed most of the Xenomorphs, but not all of them. And the ones that managed to survive made their way into the station through the air shafts. Say it with me now. Murphy's Law. Ricardo immediately hit Amanda with a bombshell. Marlowe's ship was approaching the station. The scumbag finally supplied the autocodes to unpark it. But why? Well, Ricardo also had some juicy audio to share as well. See, it seemed Taylor pulled rank and cut a deal with the old sucker to release him from his tiny holding cell in exchange for the exact location where he and his crew found the derelict engineer ship. When Amanda asked how to best access the Anesidora, he said, "Great news! There's direct access straight through the air vent." She was finally starting to catch on to how not safe these things are travel-wise. But she arrived to the ship in one piece, and Marlowe greeted her over the PA speakers he had put in. And like Ricardo, he too had a bit of audio he thought she might like to hear. And that bit of audio? Well, it's the main reason I've told you this story, right before your big bullshit meeting with the suit and tie losers of Weyland-Yutani. You've seen her photo, you know she lived through this. You read her full name, you know she ended up married, which you'd think would be out of character for somebody whose resentment over their parent never coming home led to a career of working with tools she found easier to trust and rely on than human beings. That time, I wasn't half kidding. So what changed? Well, the audio she was played...
Addict report. Personal message. This is for my daughter.
Mom.
Was from you. It was every bit the closure she could have hoped for, and it made it clear that you not returning home wasn't a consequence of selfish desires or priorities. She felt the sincerity in your voice and the massive weight that lifted off from inside her.
I needed to protect you. Don't worry about me. I'm sure I'll see you very soon. I love you, sweetheart.
She was finally free from the questions that plagued her and the answers her head tricked her into believing in an effort to drive her insane. And as terrifying as her encounter with these Xenomorphs was, in the end it allowed her to feel closer to you and to understand what you went through in a way that had she not gone through all that nonsense too, the message you recorded for her might not have had half the impact it did. Now this is not to say Marlowe was a decent dude. Well, maybe he was. It can be really hard to tell with people in this world. See, he basically took Taylor hostage. That deal they made was just to get her on board with coming aboard the Anesidora with him, to bypass the security that was likely already dead anyway. With the Anesidora docked against Sevastopol, he intended to self-destruct his own ship, taking the station down along with it in the process, thus destroying all Xenomorphs. When you really think about it though, who's the bad guy here? The guy who wants to eradicate the threat before it's not eradicated and turned into a weapon? Or the girl who desperately wants to know where they can find more of these things to weaponize? He brought you up to justify his actions. How you went the self-destruct route too for the very same reason he was. The argument there would be, you weren't killing any humans when you did that, but hardly anyone's alive, and let's not kid ourselves. You would be the first one in line agreeing to sacrifice yourself for the hope of tomorrow for everyone else. While Amanda tried talking Marlowe off the ledge, Taylor Morph took matters into her own hand and conked him out with a wrench. It was too late though. He had already triggered the make-believe self-destruct mode on his ship. The initial blast wave killed Taylor, which was so sad. Amanda bucked it out of there back to the station, which was basically escaping an explosion by running into a burning house. Everybody was toast at that point, Ricardo included, courtesy of a pesky facehugger. But just when things looked beyond hopeless, what should appear but the Torrens? I can't believe it had stuck around. No, I mean I really can't bring myself to believe that at all. Quite frankly, I should make it a reason why, but it's too borderline subjective. So lucky you guys, I guess. Unlucky Amanda, though. She got in contact with what's-her-name from the Torrens over the comms, and with no place to dock and the station falling apart and the Xenomorphs lurking about, Amanda would have to immediately get to a medical rig, throw on an EVA suit, and space swim over to freedom. Against all perfect organism odds, she somehow made it over to the medical rig, but right as she was about to put the EVA suit on, she realized a Xenomorph was hovering directly above her, from the take a single guess. It scooped her up and into those air vents where, understandably, she just blacked out. Reason why. You can't solo escape a cocoon prison. Duh. This one, honestly to me, is without a doubt tied with that whole purge insanity as the top ultimate reason why here. And it's so simple too. I could go on one of my endless rambles, but the fact is, if you could solo free yourself from being cocooned, someone amongst the endless sea of Xeno victims would have. And God knows everyone who's capable tries. But that's what Amanda did. Freed herself fast as shit despite the opened eggs, and just array of reminders what happened there isn't possible. Speaking of fast as shit, that Xenomorph had to have stuck Amanda to that wall in record timing, because the station was still mid-collapse, and what's-her-name on the Torrens was still waiting for Amanda to return. That being said, the Purge might have nixed the communications ban and the insane Working Joe's killing spree, but it did not stop Murphy's Law, because there was yet another problem. The station's gravitational pull had twisted the docking ring, pinning the Torrens in place against it. So, in order for it to get the fuck out of there, Amanda had to manually blow the explosive release bolts on the maintenance rig to shake the Torrens loose. And she had an audience too while she did that. Hey man, thanks for taking your time attacking. The second she finished that task, whoosh! Amanda was propelled into the vacuum by the blast, along with a smattering of slowpoke Xenomorphs too. With the help of her thrusters, she managed to get herself inside the Torrens airlock. The end! Hooray! If only. If only. What always happens happened when it comes to these Xenomorphs. One snuck on board. With what's-her-name presumed dead, and Amanda in a state of absolute shock and horror, she backed up back into the airlock and did the only thing she could think of in that moment. Pulled the emergency release lever and jettisoned herself and that bitch-ass Xenomorph into the void of space. It took 3 long days for her to be found and rescued. No serious injuries, just relentless boredom and alien trauma. But she'd even say she'd take alien trauma any day over the trauma she was able to leave to burn in Sevastopol. So keep that in mind and yeah, have a great meeting. You're sitting at a long polished table in a conference room, carefully slightly too cold. A specimen under the dead-eyed gaze of a panel of Weyland-Yutani suits. And they don't take kindly to employees who sleep on the job. You tell them everything, from the derelict ship to the eggs and the creature and the signal that wasn't a goddamn SOS, but SOL as in shit out of luck. They don't just not believe you, they assume like it humors them your story's just delusion brought on by trauma you've yet to sort through. They strip you of your flight status, and when you tell them to go to that rock and see for themselves just how not full of crap you are, you learn they set up the Hadley's Hope terraforming colony on that moon over 20 years ago, and that it's now home to more than 60 families. Well, damn. You try to build a new life, but you didn't much care for trucking, and now you've been forced to take a day job working cargo docks operating power loaders. I think it might be best to pause, reflect, and discuss all the reasons the company is the problem here before you allow them to do what they're dauntingly good at, convince you that you're crazy. And what better way to start than with this reason why? That inquest meeting? was a setup. Weyland-Yutani isn't just another megacorporation. They're the top monopolistic force across the galaxy, valued at over $200 trillion. Because of the lies and corruption you experience from them as an employee, you not only could have sued them for everything they've got, you probably would have won too. But you stepped into a room full of Weiyu's top executives and got eviscerated. You were discredited on record. And the most brutal thing about that is they didn't not believe you. In fact, they knew full well that everything you said to them was the truth. After the Nostromo incident, it wasn't you so much they cared about at all, but the xenomorph you thought you killed, you didn't. They eventually found it, dormant, cocooned in space, where it was extracted and taken aboard their Renaissance station to harvest its genetic material for the Prometheus strain. You'll love this part. The leader heading this classified operation was a synthetic science officer named Rook. Same model series as Ash Hole Ash. Their plan was to take that Prometheus strain, or black goo as we common folk like to say, or Compound Z01 for all the scientists out there watching. What up? And reverse engineer it. Kind of like what David did, except David was a sociopathic genius. These losers were just idiotic dummies. They figured if you extracted the perfect organism's secret sauce and then injected it into something else, humans, they too would get to experience the xenomorph's regenerative powers and survivability. Something that, without it, would ultimately see the end of mankind, because humans without an evolution bump aren't cut out for colonization. Pinky the lab rat wasn't sold on the pitch alone either, so they mashed it. The testing method of choice during the ROMLab T9 trial days. Flattened poor Pinky like a pancake. No need to feel bad though, because once injected with the good stuff, he was back to himself in no time. Okay, now you can feel bad for Pinky, because shortly after he returned to normal, he began mutating uncontrollably until finally he met his end, not by a chest burst, but the less common backburst attack. And to play devil's advocate, you'd argue, backbursts are gonna happen when you're still in the clinical trial phase. It'll get better. Better every time, in fact. But it just got worse instead. Reason why? Weyland-Yutani is incapable of seeing or accepting the potential repercussions of their actions. Even after this profoundly disturbing mutation, one could make the case that the company had only grown more eager to get this stuff into humans' hands. Because surely the company wasn't doing something wrong here. Nah, the company was doing everything right. What wasn't working was, unlike humans, those weak lab rats couldn't handle the juice. To which I say, gang, meet K. Poor girl mistook the Compound Z01 booster shot for Tylenol. We've all been there. Like and subscribe if you hate when that happens. And yeah, she was pregnant too. So her side effect was going from 2 months and not showing to delivering a hybrid xeno-human giant demon monster from hell.
Do you want to see the baby?
Oh God, that's a baby?
This baby of hers projects major senseless killer vibes. And I don't mean that in the pure sense of the phrase, where it's just defined by not being motive-driven. I mean it's as if this thing awkwardly functions brainlessly and automatically to kill. But hey, it's probably just a fluke, right, Weiyu? Pregnancy side effect, that's all. Should still be fine to start distributing around to everyone. Let's not overthink it. Reason why? Weyland-Yutani never knows when it's done, or when to slow down, or what the word reevaluate means. Seriously, when you're dealing with something as powerful as DNA extraction from the perfect organism and getting disastrous results, you'd think the thing to do might be to take a seat, go have a cigarette, mull things over. Not these guys though. They were looking at that perceived to be xenofossil that's been getting smaller and more used up by the day and wondering how to proceed both faster and without fear of running out of supply. But without a queen to lay eggs to produce the face huggers that hug so the xenomorphs can burst, what do? You go on Amazon and order a 3D printer, of course. Duh. I swear to God that's not a Strange Thoughts bit. They literally started printing their own face huggers through a 1-2 genetic punch process that began with genetic blueprinting the black goo to map the parasitoid genome. Once they had that locked and loaded, they moved to phase 2, genetic printing. Who needs something laying eggs you gotta wait to hatch when you can print as many as you'd like of these personal boundary deniers in bulk and have them ready to rock and roll immediately? Reason why? They just don't get it, man. Any of it as far as David's gift to the universe is concerned. There is hardly anything more dangerous than the inability to perceive the threat you're inviting in before it steps inside, especially when your obsession with that threat grows out of control to the point of madness and desperation to do whatever it takes to get as close as you can to it.
There is an explanation for this, you know.
When you're obsessed on the level the company is when it comes to this Xenomorph bullshit, you can't look at the source clearly at all, and that prevents you from ever truly being able to understand it at all. Your perception is wrong, your confidence that everything would be better if you just had it is wrong, your assumptions are wrong. The shell they assumed was a fossil, which they opened, hung up, and poked at, and took from. Wrong. The company really thought they hit the jackpot here. A priceless fossilized biological weapon waiting, like it's begging to be harvested. The reality of the situation was another trick-up-the-sleeve reason these things truly are the perfect organism. You harpooning it out of the airlock where it bobbed uncontrollably into the thruster port, you then ignited, burning it up and sending it drifting away into the endless void of space was not enough to stop this thing. It survived for 20 years in that void by encasing itself in a hard, resinous cocoon and going into deep hibernation. In what can only be described as worst best timing ever, the Xenomorph awoke from said hibernation after our Weyland-Yutani worker bees were already going to town on printing a massive horde of facehuggers. While the Xenomorph had its fun running amok like a T-Rex whose fencing went on strike, the Alien franchise Raptor equivalent had its fair share of fun too. A highly secured, temperature-controlled lab stored a ton of their 3D printed facehuggers, but the morons printed so many they had to find multiple places for them, and the ones not confined to that highly secured lab came to play as well. Some were killed, others were cocooned in the hive areas, a few took fate into their own hands out of fear of dying, or becoming incubators, or the insanity that can accompany pure exhaustion. The company did absolutely nothing about this, left the bodies to rot, and chalked it up to, we'll get them next time, as far as the Xenomorphs were concerned, and treated the station as a write-off, which is crazy. But I guess when it comes to them, it should be expected, which is so crazy. When it was all said and done, yeah, the few station security agents still holding on to a pulse finally managed to blast that Xenomorph to hell. But that meant nothing in the big picture. On a station that huge, with a population to match, with enough huggers to match that, what's one dead Xenomorph when so many more are on their way? It's not a trick question. The answer's incidental. And to twist the knife in even deeper, even in death, your Xenomorph got the last laugh courtesy of its acid blood response to being riddled with bullets. Said acidic blood melted through the station's systems, causing its orbit to fail, leading to its unavoidable crash into the rings of LV-410. I haven't told you the worst part yet. They were only able to locate that Xenomorph because they located you first. That was 37 years ago. You were on that station. They pulled data from your escape shuttle to pinpoint the likely area the Xenomorph you encountered was drifting and zeroed in on it from there. That's around what, 5 years after Amanda heard the message you left for her on your recorder? That's 35 years you two could have spent making up for the 20-ish years you were apart. It's not gonna take 57 years to find someone who is floating in space with an active beacon. They had zero intention of bringing you out of cryo. It's still a mystery to this day how your escape shuttle left the Renaissance station. Everybody assumed the Outer Ring's collision did them the favor of taking you out along with the vessel. You saw things and you learned things you weren't supposed to walk away alive being privy to. The only reason why you were pulled out of cryo when you were was that an independent narco team very unexpectedly discovered you. At that point, what could the company do? So they scheduled a meeting.
Are there any species like this hostile organism on LV-426?
No indigenous life.
And they made you look crazy. And now we're caught up. They've revoked your flight status, you're stuck working cargo docks operating power loaders. After that meeting, they don't ever have to worry about you whistleblowing a damn thing, because now you're just a disgruntled employee, spewing disgruntled, crazy about the company responsible for ending global warming and curing cancer and the atmosphere processors that allow humans to colonize on other planets. It's important, not in the bigger picture of it all because there isn't one, but for now at least, that you take some not how to beat, but how to not die sooner than you have to advice. Don't mistake Weyland-Yutani's Xenomorph weakness for stupidity. It's that one weakness and inability to bow to it that influences the lies, the corruption, and the life-threatening circumstances you aren't able to escape. You gonna smoke that or crap? Herc pays a surprise visit to your low-income apartment with a military officer in tow. He's got that classic Burke plastic smile, but his eyes are a little twitchy. He says, "So this is awkward, but we kinda lost contact with the colony." It's the always great movie trope where he wants you to go back as a consultant and nothing more, of course. Swears to God you'll be so safe, of course. The son of the raptor guy from Jurassic Park here will see to that. He says we're talking more soldiers than a Chinese buffet has Japanese waiters, kiddo. Equipped with the coolest weapons ever, kiddo. That's not all though, kiddo. They'd also reinstate your flight status, kiddo. An ancient philosopher, Dr. Phil, once said, returning to a place that scarred you for life helps minimize night terrors, kiddo.
There's no way.
Well, that's that then. Congratulations. You made the wise choice. Wait, what are you doing, dude?
I'm in.
What the hell just happened? Reason why? You're going back to LV-426? So it seems Burke's earlier BS talk about your nightmares stuck, and you're gonna take him at his word over FaceTime without demanding it in writing when he swears any alien y'all might run into will be killed and not brought back for study purposes. Cool, that's one way to give up on life, I suppose. Reason why? Weyland-Yutani is incapable of honesty. Prior reasons aside, if we were to simply take into account what we know based on what we've experienced and confronted, the company was, and still is, hell-bent on collaring one of these things to a leash at any cost. And this man might as well be their poster boy. I mean, this is the same guy who in the 3rd grade, when asked by his teacher what he wanted to be when he grows up, responded by saying, "A Weyland-Yutani yes man." You gotta help me here, bud. You know? You gotta help me help you. Help me help you. Because here's another thing, alright? The fact that you survived that nightmare on Nostromo, that is called a miracle. Now you're gonna revisit this problem again? Remember the Titans? 1 loss, coaches fired, perfect season. What happened the following year? I'll tell you what did not happen. Remember the Titans 2. I'm not done either, because reason why? Paper, job, title. Your official job title as consultant whilst there means absolutely nothing, okay? That's like being thrown on the front line, but told you're just there to watch. You're still on the front line, goofball. Duh. But hey, it's official, I guess, so let's meet the team.
I hate this job.
Sergeant Apone is running the show on the ground. He's the kind of NCO who commands respect without demanding it. Silent confidence, no bullshit, cigar perpetually clamped between his teeth. Even when it's not there, it somehow still is. Corporal Hicks is the quiet professional. Doesn't say much, doesn't need to. Handles his weapon like it's an extension of his body. He's also the only soldier here who arguably hates androids just as much as you. Speaking of androids, or in this case, synthetics, when you realize one is part of this mission team, you take it as well as anyone in your position would. Bishop, different than Ashhole Ash, is a newer model with built-in behavioral inhibitors that make it impossible for him to harm humans or allow humans to come to harm through inaction. Private Hudson is the motor mouth, talking constant about how badass the unit is while clearly being terrified of anything that might actually challenge that badassness to a staring contest. He's no doubt had a ton of combat training, verbal combat.
Any questions?
How do I get out of this chicken outfit?
Private Vasquez is pure murder compressed into a 5-foot frame. She and Private Drake handle the smart guns, massive automatic weapons with targeting systems that track movement and lay down suppressing fire. Private Frost carries the incinerator unit. Corporal Dietrich is the medic. Privates Crow and Wierzbowski round out the squad. Spunkmeyer and Farrow handle the dropship, which, if you didn't know, is the armored transport that will ferry the squad from orbit to the LV-426 surface and back again. Oh, we can't leave out Lieutenant Gorman, who's, at best, a little bitch. fresh-faced, nervous, clearly uncomfortable in his own command. He doesn't have the haunted look of a veteran, he has the stiff, borrowed confidence of someone playing a role he hasn't grown into yet. I mean, the guy's only had 2 combat drops, both of which were simulations. The mission briefing takes place in the Sulaco's Ready Room. Gorman runs through the basics. Colonial administration has lost contact with Hadley's Hope, the terraforming colony on LV-426. They're going in to assess and assist as needed. Then Gorman gives you the floor, and you try your hardest to take advantage of this opportunity by spelling out what they can potentially expect to find once they touch down. Reason why? You're not taken seriously at all. You tell them about the organism, the speed, how it moves faster than anything you've ever seen, the acid blood, concentrated molecular acid that eats through deck plating like it's made of paper. Don't shoot one at close range unless you want to wear it. You explain the life cycle, eggs, facehuggers, a short gestation period, then a chest burster that grows to full size at an impossible rate. You emphasize that conventional tactics won't work. This thing doesn't take cover. It doesn't retreat when outgunned. It comes at you from angles you didn't know existed. The whole time you're providing this epic monologue, all these peanuts hear is, it's hard to blame them. You're polar opposites with the exact same negative view. To you, they don't take your first-hand Xenomorph experience seriously. To them, you don't take their interstellar track record seriously. But you're all gonna have to push that aside because the arriving Cybertruck means it's time to rumble. Some finish suiting up, others, Vasquez and Drake, ballroom dance with their weapons. If that's not love, what is, honestly? You pray to the god you don't believe in that you guys will get there in the middle of a colony parade celebration. And the reason for them ghosting Weyland-Yutani will be a simple case of someone accidentally unplugging the communications cord or something. Before you even touch down though, it's obvious. This is not an IT issue. You point out the structure seems intact, and they haven't lost power. But where are they? Where are the people? Ooh, look! The atmosphere processor! Burke tells you all giddy-like what a remarkable piece of machinery it is. The Butte's fully automated, and they manufacture it themselves. He could clearly give a shit about where the people are. This is his Graceland. Everyone else can f*** off. You guys get dropped off at the landing grid. The plan? To take a look inside the main facility. The soldiers, not you of course. You're just a consultant, nothing more of course. So like, are we to assume Lieutenant Gorman doubles as just a consultant too, or...? The mission team maneuvers over to the North Lock entrance and then wire cuts their way inside. Something sketchy definitely went on in here, but it's hard to assert just what. Oh, you're here. Okay. Told you so, didn't I? You're trekking through quite a peculiar scene. Obvious defensive barricades, hints of struggle and attack. But no bodies. No sign of life on the tracker. There are, however, signs of what you forewarned at the briefing, which nobody paid attention to, but they don't realize this, cause, well, they didn't pay attention. Upon entering the colony's medical lab, you find 2 living facehuggers contained inside cryostasis tubes. Just when it seems like whatever plowed through here's long gone, scanners pick up movement. Movement headed right towards you fools. Fast. Too fast. I'll say it cause I gotta. Poor Newt here would get later gatored immediately off a startled trigger squeeze, no? Newt, if you didn't know, is this feral child right here who you, for reasons unknown, take an immediate liking to. Or maybe you're just impressed a second grader's studio apartment is bigger and nicer than yours. Reason why? Now is not the time to multitask. You know, it's cool you want to take in and care for this stinky, shell-shocked child, but given all the signs that point to this most certainly being a sequel to your last encounter with the Giver of Nightmares, now would be a stupid time to learn how to yo-yo, let alone dip your toes into the foster care system. What do you think, Newt? Is Ripley doing the smart thing here? No, they're not, huh? I'm just saying, there's a time and place for everything, and this ain't it for that.
Stop your grinning and drop your linen. Found him.
It appears the best character in this movie by a mile has discovered our Xenomorph friends kicked back in sub-level 3 of the processing station directly under the main cooling towers. So drop your cocks and grab your socks, cause it is go time, baby. Woo!
Let's saddle up, Apone.
Look at him, trying to be all Mr. Upright Tough Man, not a bitch. I'll tell you one thing, these goobers might be lunch meat knuckleheads stepping into a Xenomorph house party uninvited, but at least they have the coolest looking weapons ever.
Lieutenant, what do those pulse rifles fire?
Uh-oh. Reason why. Those super cool weapons have to go. The answer to your question, 10mm caseless ammunition with explosive tips. The Xenomorph Technodrome is directly under the primary heat exchangers. This whole station is basically one big fusion reactor. If these ADHD soldiers pop off in there, they could, no, likely would, rupture the cooling system. If they rupture the cooling system, it would result in a thermal nuclear explosion and, well...
Adios, muchacho.
Excuse you, watch your language in front of my daughter. Gorman instructs Apone to collect everybody's magazine. Como say what?
What the hell are we supposed to use, man? Harsh language?
It's like the catch stipulation in a video game boss battle that makes it that much harder to beat. Gorman graciously allows them to, with caution, maintain hold of flame units. Pfft, flame units. Been there, Gore Boy. Not very effective. You'd think they'd read the writing on the wall and retreat. By writing, I of course mean bodies. Like, learn to read a room, guys. Hello? They spot open facehugger eggs, bones, nightmare fuel. The poor girl begs to be taken out. Something the baby Xenomorph inside her must have heard, 'cause... Leave a like and comment if you hate it when that happens. As the Xenomorphs have them surrounded, stalking their prey from the shadows, we see just how deep into Hope's abyss the mighty have fallen, going from these bad boys to Halo pistols.
Pull your team out, Gorman.
And the Oscar for Best Suggestion in a Film Made Way Too Late goes to Sigourney Weaver, Aliens. Your tech tells you they're there. They are right in front of these guys, and they have no idea until it's too late. All you and Burke, Goreboy, and your less than shiny new daughter can do is hear the screams through your comm and watch as the heart monitors flatline while the video feeds dissolve.
Talk to me.
Goreboy's fully cocooned from fear into insanity. Burke's a nervous wreck too, trying, on bad reception, to get through to his bookie, cause he had a lot riding on a basketball game that should have just ended.
Update.
Do something!
Goreboy proves to be a choking, worthless leader. Burke won 15 grand. Reason why? Those super cool weapons? They're coming back. Remember, based on where these soldiers are, firing their pulse rifles could easily rupture the cooling system, causing thermal nuclear chaos. Well, it seems the current situation ruptured their internal cooling system, cause they cannot keep their cool and grab for their weapons anyway. They don't just strap up though, they fire those things like they're trying to rupture the cooling system. To make their odds of success at failure better, when a Xenomorph snatches Corporal Dietrich, Private Frost, in the commotion it elicits, is set on fire. And as he goes over the rails, everything goes over the rails. Because as Frost falls, from his person falls a bag of ammunition that is set on fire by the fire he's drowning in and explodes. Again, you tried warning them about the Xenomorph acid blood and the repercussions they could face when shooting them, but they didn't pay attention, so for the first time ever, thank you Private Drake with the assist from Trigger Happy Vasquez, we get to bear witness to that consequence, and it's brutal. With Goreboy useless as sin, you take over the Batmobile you guys are in and drive like a mom late to her new daughter Newt's soccer game right into the tunnel of
Fender bender.
And then there were three. Corporal Hicks, Private Hudson, and Private Vasquez are the only ones who make it to the Uber X, and Corporal Hicks, like Private Drake, learns what might happen when you shoot a Xenomorph at close range. You Vin Diesel you guys the F out of there, and purposely run down a Xenomorph on your way out. Smart move from the person warning others about problematic acid blood. After barely escaping Xeno's inferno, it seems Hicks got concussed during their escape and now thinks he's someone he's not.
I'm Reese, Sergeant TechCom, BN 38416, assigned to protect you. You've been targeted for termination. Don't move unless I say. Don't make a sound unless I say. Do you understand?
He snaps back to himself while you place the vehicle in park so you guys can have a meeting on the mound to discuss where to go from here. Your new daughter Newt's fine. Hudson is trapped inside a never-ending panic attack.
Get away from me, man!
Goreboy hit his head and is unconscious. No loss there. Vasquez is Vasquez. She'll be just fine. She's a badass. You light a cigarette and mull over what you think you guys should do. Smart money's on acing the place and nuking the entire moon on your way out. Despite giving you his word before leaving that should you run into a Xenomorph, or many, they'd kill it, not try and fail to capture it to study, Burke is now insisting, who are we to make a decision that would effectively render extinct another highly fascinating species such as this which we've encountered here today? What he doesn't realize is that with Apone cocooned, waiting to die, Hicks is next in line to take command, which means you are, cause he finds you incredibly attractive.
Prep for dust off, we're gonna need immediate evac.
Roger, on our way.
You fucking bitch. Reason why.
You're going nowhere!
As Spunkmeyer and Pharaoh get set to come get you, they learn an invaluable hindsight lesson. If you're sent somewhere where armed-to-kill Marines are investigating 158 missing people, with strong suspicion it involves born-to-kill aliens, maybe don't sit around with your dropship hatch wide open, waiting for anyone, or anything, to casually stroll inside. It could end bad, you know?
Well, where the
Hey, maybe it'll let you off with a warning. Maybe not. Want to know the real kicker here? The dropship collides and explodes into the side of the atmosphere processor. I'd tell you what this means, but nobody could do that better than Hudson.
Game over, man! It's game over! What are we gonna do now?
Then Newt says something that will outlive us all.
They mostly come at night. Mostly.
Reason why. Your weapons inventory is less than desirable. You guys seek shelter in the main facility and do a quick inventory check. 4 pulse rifles, 50 rounds each, 15 M40 grenades, 1 half-full flamethrower, 1 decoy doll head for bait.
Hey!
It's for the greater good, Newt. Relax. Don't fucking touch that!
Dangerous, honey.
Your number of soldiers is dwindling as quickly as your ammo, against an endless rampage of xenomorphs, which stands on its own as a reason, but in this particular case, it's in direct tandem with this reason why. Weyland-Yutani's rescue stipulation. Hicks lets you know Weyland-Yutani kindly pours resources together to send a rescue in the event you don't arrive back when you're supposed to. But that is kind of costly, so they wait 17 days.
17 days? We're not gonna last 17 hours.
Is it just me, or might Hudson be a distant relative of mine? This guy just gets it. You take that mom tone with Hudson. You tell him to stop being so realistic. You tell him what you guys need now is enough false hope to delay your inevitable deaths as long as possible. So he sets off to find construction blueprints, anything you guys can gander at to determine what you can seal off to prevent those pesky xenomorphs from killing or cocooning anyone else. And then everyone chips in to do their part until every last entry point is protected. Hicks gives you a device to wear so he can track you at all times and frames it like it's a promise ring. It's super romantic. As you tuck your new daughter into bed, even if you're for sure dead as hell here, it's worth acknowledging just how far you've come. I mean, when all of this started, these soldiers didn't want to listen to a damn thing you had to say. Now, you're basically calling all the shots. You've gained everyone's respect. Well, everybody except one. It's time we revisited a reason from earlier.
I'm really an okay guy.
Reason why. Carter Burke is not an okay guy. We'll get there. And get there we have. After concluding with Bishop that if each facehugger comes from an egg, something must be laying them. Something we've yet to see. You tell him once he's done with his obsessive facehugger research, they are to be destroyed. Only, Bishop lets you know he was given very clear instructions from Burke to keep them alive in stasis to be taken to the company lab. You do some digging, and what you find is incredibly Burke-y. It seems go-getter Carter Burke was taking notes during your inquest meeting while you recounted your experience on Nostromo. He'd go on to independently reach out to the colony and instruct them to go to where you say the eggs were located and see what they find. providing them zero indication just how potentially dangerous such a scouting trip could be. When confronted, Burke tries to sell you on his heartless, calculated reasoning. If they bring those facehuggers back, they'd be worth millions to the bioweapons division at Weyland-Yutani. You could be set for life, kiddo. You berate him for being so blinded by greed. What he did cost 157 people their life, and for what? You ask him how he'd even get something that dangerous cleared by ICC quarantine. He answers that with a question of his own. How are they going to impound something they don't know he's got? I guess he wasn't taking notes during the part of that inquest meeting when you brought up how staunchly you advocate in favor of following strict protocol. You tell him, Bishop needs me for something, but we're not done here, bub. And then, right before you leave, you tell him the scariest thing you can ever say to someone. When we get back, I'm telling on you. Reason why? Something very uncoolant happened. While Hicks takes a nap standing up, Bishop explains it's tough to conclude who impacted the processing station worse, the Marines popping off or the dropship smacking directly into it. But either way, in just 4 hours, LV-426 is going to go boom. Thank God their only option's incredibly simple. Someone's just gotta crawl through the dangerous, cramped access tunnels with a portable terminal to the primary uplink tower outside, where they will then manually patch into the transmitter and remote pilot a second dropship from the Sulaco down to the landing platform on LV-426.
Well, somebody's gonna have to go out there.
Oh yeah, sure. With those things running around? Oh my God, we are related. Bishop volunteers. He's the only one there qualified to remote pilot the dropship, and it's this sort of implied understanding, I guess, that xenomorphs don't really concern themselves with synthetics because they aren't suitable hosts for breeding. Except that's honestly bullshit. Reason why? The xenomorphs would absolutely waste Bishop. I'd embrace this concept where it actually applied, but it's really not. Not even in this one, we just haven't gotten there yet. And the thing is, xenomorphs don't only use humans as a host. A lot of times they just second mouth skull crush them to death. These aliens are stupid smart and strategic. So much so, I've always sort of compared them to velociraptors. You hit the magic self-destruct initialize button on your ship, it senses something heavy is going down and sneaks aboard your escape vessel. They blend themselves into the background and attack when you least expect it. They see an inn to your dropship and climb aboard, but instead of striking immediately, they wait until the ship takes off before making their presence known. We'll see more examples of their predator intellect soon that only further suggests synthetic or not, they would comprehend that 1, Bishop is not one of them. And 2, he's doing something that dares to try and conflict with their best interest. In any case, while Bishop labors through hell for you guys, you and Hicks have a much needed date night.
Here's a pulse rifle I'll teach you to use. It's almost as heavy as you are real cute. Aim very careful, just like I aim for you. Then line your shot of love and shoot. Spill all their guts, just like I wanna do. Oh, what a sight to behold and consume. When the acid falls through the floorboard, you can view the beauty exposed past what you already knew. You already knew. The surface is lovely, what's under is too. Arguably more so selfless and true. This gun will protect you like I'll always prove. We'll make it home. Go to Disney with Newt. While Burke goes to jail at Weyland, out on Fiorina where there's nothing to do but get lice and be in a sulky bad mood. You're a dime a dozen eggs this queen's produce.
Goreboy finally wakes up and tries apologizing, but you burp in his face and tell him to get You find Feral Newt sound asleep on the cold, hard floor underneath the bed, and decide to sneak a nap too, not knowing it will be your last. Reason why? Carter Burke wins? You wake up, wondering how long you conked out for. Turns out you're a deep sleeper, cause you completely slept through Burke releasing the 2 living facehuggers before locking you and Newt in with them. Come on, of course he moved your pulse rifle, silly. Luckily for you and Newt, he forgot to grab your plot armor. Quick, try the lab door. Drats. Yeah, the camera. Maybe they'll see you and... Damn it. The chair. Grab the chair. Throw it through the window. Why, God? Why? Why? Wait, oh, I know. Call the facehugger over and give up. There's no escape. Newt cannot stop crying out, and the last thing you want to have around a facehugger is an open mouth. By all accounts, this should, without question, be the end of both of you, and were this real life, it most certainly would be.
Ripley, I'm scared.
Bitch, do you think I'm not? Thinking on your toes, you get on your toes and set off the sprinkler, which triggers an alarm. Then you tell Newt, every man for themselves. Guys, conserve your energy and walk. It's Ripley and Newt, not random side characters. You scream while one lunges onto you. It chokes your mouth open to do its thing, but because you're you inside a movie about you, this poor thing contractually can't get what it wants. They bust in and save you both, just in the nick of time. Phew! After you catch your breath, boy, do you ever tell on Burke. This f***ing guy, man. He's like, you got me. And you can tell that he loves it, too. His plan was to sneak 2 aliens back past quarantine by having the facehuggers impregnate you and Newt. All he'd have to do then is freeze them for the trip home, and voila! No one would know about the embryos they were carrying. Nobody except the remaining soldiers, but no big deal there. He'd just sabotage their freezers on the way back, jettison the bodies, come up with something clever, jackpot, checkmate, kiddo. But don't let this insanity fool ya. He's really an okay guy. Sick who'd ever be mad about you? Well, that's not good. They cut the power.
What do you mean they cut the power?
What I mean, my great however many greats grandson, is the Xenomorphs cut the power. It's another perfect example of this perfect organism's genius intellect. Good thing you studied those blueprints closely.
There's movement all over the place!
Sealed off each and every entry point, completely barricaded yourselves inside. It's just too bad you didn't account for something.
Range 20 meters.
Reason why?
They found a way in. Something we missed.
Yeah, basically that, thanks.
13 meters.
That's right outside the door.
They keep getting closer.
10.
Then they're right on us.
You don't understand how.
8 meters.
The scanner suggests the impossible.
6.
Can't be, that's inside the room.
You're not reading it right.
Yes, Hicks, he is. It hits ya. Far too late to do anything about it. Something you should have known, 'cause you do know.
It's using the air shafts.
We don't know
That's
that.
the only way!
Hicks takes a look and... Fucking A, dude. I mean, look at this mess you're in, my god. You got endless Xenos falling from the sky versus 4 of you with limited ammo. 5 if you want to count a concussed Goreboy with a baby gun. And it's not just the Xenomorphs you gotta worry about. You gotta babysit Newt, and Burke is still making this situation somehow even more of a hassle. My amazing distant future relative Hudson unloads on these turd Fergusons. He goes in ammo debt, that's for sure, but that's the cost for being a hero. Unfortunately, these Xenomorphs are everywhere, and there are just too many of them. Not even Burke on the other side of that door he locked is out of range from them. Some want to say Hudson was all talk, but he knew it would probably end this way, and still wanted to take as many Xenomorphs out for his team until he couldn't. So to me, that's a voice worth listening to.
Hey Ripley, don't worry. Me and my squad of ultimate badasses will protect you. I am the ultimate badass. Yeah. State of the badass art. You do not want to with me.
I need to see electrical access tunnels, sub-basements, every possible way into this complex.
Okay, I'm on it.
And on it he was. He found every blueprint, spec sheet, supply list, and then some. The guy stepped up to the plate when he needed to and knocked it out of the park. And in the end, when put in a position where being a coward would be more than understandable, he went weapon ballistic on the threat and died fighting.
Hey, Vasquez. Have you ever been mistaken for a man?
No. Have you?
Oh, Vasquez. You're just too bad.
At ease, you ultimate badass. Hicks gets that locked door open with his Comtech hacking device. But reason why? It would take minutes you don't have, not seconds, for Hicks to get that door open. While the alien army chest bursts through that door, you guys enter their comfort zone, the air vents. Can we just pause and acknowledge what a badass Vasquez is? Even here, in this terrifying, bright red, claustrophobic setting, she goes to work on these xenomorphs. Unfortunately, it's arguably one of the most badass moments in franchise history, setting the pieces in motion for her demise. While stacking xenomorph kill after xenomorph kill onto her resume, she runs out of ammo, but without wasting a second, she tosses that weapon, pulls out another, and side shuffles forward. A xenomorph charging towards her, out of sight and half a layer above, learns the hard way she's not easily caught off guard. The xenomorph topples down over Vasquez, but she manages to wrestle it off of her with bullets. And then again, in just such a cool moment that not enough people talk about, Vasquez presses her boot against the xenomorph's neck and blows its f***ing head off. With her foot though in a vulnerable place, acid blood pours over it, leaving her in a hopelessly compromising position. Gorman, a safe distance away, hears her cry out from the pain and is left with a decision. He could move forward with you, Hicks, and Newt and likely make it out of there, or he could go to Vasquez's aid and likely die alongside her. Believe it or not, Gorman tosses his little bitch card into the trash and does the right thing. There's a saying you're taught in acting class: you're only as good as your scene partner, and the same idea can be applied to pretty much everything in life. It's moments like these that show the separation between a good team of soldiers and the best of the best. They're toast. They know they're toast. But instead of sulking in that comprehension, Gorman takes out an M40 grenade, and together, the two become toast on their terms, not those of these perfect organisms. Elsewhere, just as you, Hicks, and Newt are so close to the fresh, polluted air you can almost cough up blood, the blast wave from Gorman and Vasquez's last stand rocks Newt down a super fun laundry chute slide. Now let's not do anything stupid. I got my reason why whistle, and I'm not afraid to blow it if you blow it here. There's plenty of children back on Earth waiting to be adopted. Let's go find Bishop and start calling agencies from the air, okay? Damn it, man. Reason why? You try to save Newt. You dummies find her at the bottom of everything, in the polar opposite direction of out of this place. But right as it seems you're about to Comtech hack to her rescue, a xenomorph rises from the water and decides she's a good fit for cocooning. You were too late to save Newt, and there's a fucking swarm of xenomorphs 2 regulation basketball hoops away, gunning right towards you. First Amanda, now this little girl? Not even the strength of a synthetic could get your would-be catatonic shocked body to budge forward out of harm's way here. But as Huey Lewis and the news allude to, the power of love's on a whole other level, cause Hicks channels said power into getting you inside a very inconveniently slow to go elevator. A xenomorph asks if there's room for one more, and when you say no, for the second time now, Hicks gets acid blood all over himself. Leave a like and subscribe if you hate it when that happens. You and the power of, I know I like you a lot, but we just met, so I'm not ready to use the L word quite yet, drag Hicks aboard Bishop's Rescue dropship, and one of your biggest fears becomes a reality. Reason why? You've turned into your mother! Aboard the Nostromo, Mother's special orders decided who was expendable, your crew, and who wasn't, the Xenomorph. Here on LV-426, after the Xenomorph ambush disaster, vital sign monitors showed Apone and Dietrich were still alive. When Vasquez proclaims, y'all need to get your asses back in there to get them, quoting Space Force Code of Ethics, page 12, line 4, we don't leave our people behind, essay, you shoot that idea dead in the head. They're cocooned, and you guys need to look the other way. You weren't wrong, but here we are now, and Newt's in the same exact boat those guys were in. Only the situation is now worse, because you're at the Xeno tail end of a classic franchise time clock. Yet, I guess, according to your special orders, Apone and Dietrich were expendable, and Newt most certainly isn't, because your dumbass is entering that crumbling atmosphere processor alone in an effort to extract her. This is what you'd call a quintessential unalive mission. You only just now learned how these pulse rifles even work, and you're not even going into the impossible to survive sector so many of the Marines met their doom at earlier. You're going to the core heart of their Xeno man cave, totally unprepared for what's awaiting you there beyond Newt. You run into Mr. Company himself, Carter Burke, cocooned and miserable. You hand him an M40 grenade and tell him just in case, and nothing more, of course. You swear to God he'll be so okay, of course. The engineers in the sky that created us will see to that. Then, shortly after leaving him to rot, kaboom, kiddo! Leave a like and subscribe if you love it that happened. And then, you find Newt, surrounded by an ever-growing number of facehugger eggs, one of which is hatched, with the facehugger ready to pounce. You aim and fire, which prompts a slew of xenomorphs to scurry on over that you shoot as well. But look, not that it makes too big a difference either way, this is not the place you want to make clear you do not come in peace. Because something else is here too. Something right in front of you. Reason why? A f***ing queen. The only thing you can do here is nothing. Take a good look at the world of shit you're in right now. Regardless of whether you start popping off or stay entranced in terrified awe, xenomorphs are aggressive predators by nature, and with any species where a queen's involved, they're called the queen for a reason. The colony is, without exception, exceptionally protective of her. And you're both surrounded! Even plot armor's like, I don't know, man. Both of you would be torn apart before you have a second to blink, let alone fire off a single round. But then, you remember, you're Ellen f***ing Ripley.
Let the acid hit the floor. Let the acid hit the floor. Let the acid hit the floor. Let the acid hit the floor.
You torch the eggs. You kaboom! M40 the ovipositor. You blackout. Pew 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 from the bottled up rage you've kept in cryo. But yeah, reason why. You didn't shoot to kill the queen? And then you run out of ammo. So it's, time to scrattle. You might want to run a little faster, not gonna lie. You destroyed the queen's house, killed her babies, and the gross sack thing too. If you wanted her to get up, chase you, and rip you in half, I'm sure you could have just asked. As you near the elevator, you remember something.
That cheese, it went f***ing Whipley.
What? Oh, no, but nice try, Newt. Something else. Hicks channels said power into getting you inside a very inconveniently slow-to-go elevator.
Slow to go.
Elevator. Turns out here on Hadley's Hope, they're all hopelessly slow.
Screw this elevator door. Screw this elevator door. Screw this elevator door.
The queen arrives, seething with rage. Luck really pulls through in clutch though, because the elevator door finally slides open just as it stampedes towards you. Holy shit. Now that's scary. You reach your pickup location, only your ride's nowhere to be found. You tell Newt to hold on and grab your phone. Son of a bitch. This place, it's done for, which means you guys are too, which all but solidifies Uber Bishop's 1-star rating. Now just who the effing could that be? Uh-oh. We're dead! We're doomed! We're screwed! It's gonna kill us! We're saved! Oh my god, we're saved! Your Uber has arrived! Yeah, no, I've let it slide enough. Reason why? You wouldn't get nick of timed every time in real life. A facehugger nearly hugs you, and you're saved in the nick of time. The queen arrives to kill you, and the elevator door opens in the nick of time. Now, again the queen arrives to kill you, and Bishop's Uber arrives in the nick of time? It's one of those things you don't really catch on to till you look really closely, but it's a lifeline depended on far too much here. Go ahead and pick your poison as far as which instance you'd prefer not escaping a doomed scenario at the last second, but just know that no matter what though, you'd be a goner. But I don't know, drop a comment if you think I'm being overly critical of poor Nick here. Moving on, Bishop flies y'all out of that atmosphere processor and off of LV-426
in the nick of time!
Well, I sure don't know how you did it, but you guys somehow managed to survive quite the massive ordeal. You got a new slam piece out of it too, and a kid, and someone I think will end up being quite the great best friend. Ha! I knew it! This totally backs my stance that just because a synthetic can't be an incubator, that doesn't mean it's safe from xeno decommission. If I'm right, there's no way Bishop would have successfully pulled off getting that second dropship to LV-426, especially when you consider they mostly come at night. Mostly. And if you still think I'm wrong, the Queen would have let Bishop be and impaled you instead. Let's be totally real here though, yeah? Reason why? It would have impaled you, not Bishop, regardless of who's right in the synthetic xenomorph debate. The Queen's tail here is clearly within range to stab through you. It's checkmate either way, but for now, let's just go with...
Queen takes Bishop. Check.
Man, you really should have killed the bitch, dude. This lady clearly knows how to hold a grudge. You take a moment to stare death straight in the eyes, if it even has eyes, and then leave Newt to fend for herself. I gotta say, I didn't see that coming, but very smart thinking. Wait, what?
Get away from her, you bitch!
Go, go, power loader! Weyland-Yutani, power loader!
As fun as the closest thing we'll get to Alien vs. Terminator is, this could go back and forth forever. So you pivot back to unreliable, the airlock. After dragging you down with it, the power loader offers enough weight to keep the Queen from getting to you for now, but definitely not for long. So you hurry up the ladder and make the dumbest decision ever. Reason why? Explosive decompression. Inside the ship, the air is pressurized so you can breathe. Outside, a total vacuum. The moment you crank that lever, all that air is going to hightail it out of there instantly. We're talking several tons of force slamming into you. Unless your grip strength is literally superhuman, you'd be ripped off that ladder and tossed out into the endless void like a piece of confetti. And this is without factoring in the fact that the Queen's gripped to your leg trying to pull you down off the ladder as well. Incredible cinematic moments often play out incredibly differently from how they would in real life. But hey, I've said it before, I'll say it a million damn times because it's true. You're Ellen Ripley, and you climb up out of there and seal the airlock back up, because that's what legends do. If only legends could note prior problematic patterns and take the necessary steps needed to prevent them from continuing to happen though. But we'll get there. For now, you, Newt, Phantom of the Opera, and Bishop's better half are going to the most magical place on Earth. Not LV-24 nothing, Disney World in Orlando, Florida, where fireworks mostly come at night. Mostly. Disney, if you didn't know, is basically Weyland-Yutani's twin brother if corporations could have twins. Funnily enough, they had their own unfortunate xenomorph instance too. Don't worry though, that was a long time ago, and only like 30 people died. Newt's gonna love it though. Let's see, there's Splash Mountain, Big Thunder Mountain, Space Mountain, which I'm sure you'll want to skip, but there's the Pirates Ride, Haunted Mansion's the best, God, what else? The teacups are always fun. Look who's up, hey sleepyhead. I've got some good news and bad news. The good news is, it has not been another 50-something years in Dreamland this time. You were only in cryo for a few weeks. The bad news is, you guys crash landed on a planet dirtier than Newt was when you first found her. Speaking of the devil, well, I guess probably Angel I'd assume now. Newton Hicks died in the crash. You're the only survivor. It's not just a bummer for you when finding this out. Mostly everyone who got to witness the chemistry you three shared is just as shocked, livid, and sad as you. Mostly. So, what the hell happened? Reason why? You didn't inspect the ship prior to cryo. Look, pal, I'm not heartless. I get it. You're probably carrying a lot of survivor's guilt after learning you're the only one who got out of that mess. But you did just fight a queen in the Sulaco's cargo bay because it quietly hitched a ride with you, hiding out in the dropship's landing gear. Now I'm just saying, it really should have occurred to you to check the ship for anything else that might have wandered aboard your little flying RV uninvited before reading Newt Goodnight Moon, promising to protect her and tucking her in for a cozy little cryo nap. While you, her, and Hicks were closing yourselves in, a facehugger was letting itself out of an egg somewhere aboard your ship. And this particular facehugger was quite the mischievous little bug, I'll tell you what. It immediately caused an electrical fire. The ship's automated systems did exactly what they were programmed to do, detected the hazard, and ejected all the cryotubes straight out through an escape pod. Unfortunately for you guys, the electrical fire that facehugger caused was to the electrical systems around the cryotubes. It totally screwed up the would-be evac process, and you guys crashed down hard into the grossest looking sea ever on the grossest looking planet. I'd normally chalk up not inspecting the place for bugs before cryosleep as one of those mistakes you only recognize after the fact. But this was what, the third time now, Ripley? That's the what. Now the where. But first, the why. You clearly have the worst luck ever. Of all places, you've crash landed on Fiorina 161, a Class C prison planet, home to the galaxy's most violent, controversial offenders. We're talking double Y chromosome psychopaths. I should be clearer. Sorry. Fiorina 161 began as a prison planet. Our friends at Weyland-Yutani thought it would work better as a lead foundry for producing shielding for nuclear waste. Basically, the studio needed a climax location, and that Terminator 2 movie that came out 9 months prior was a banger. A lot of the filth left, some psycho loons remained. Those who stayed put in this comfort zone at the ass end of space found God in an apocalyptic, millenarian form of Christianity, complete with vows of celibacy. Simply put, they formed a cult. So yeah, you crash landed on a prison planet full of sociopathic cultists.
We've all taken the vows!
Reason why? The cult is not pleased you're here. These crazies already have violent, paranoid trust issues. Outsiders in general make them hostile, so how dare you, a woman, crash land on their muddy dump just to tempt them into sin? They haven't seen a woman in years, okay? Their vow of celibacy wasn't tested by discipline, it was protected by a total lack of access. Your presence shatters that illusion and instantly ramps up tension, resentment, and hostility toward you.
I would suggest clothes. None of them have seen a woman in years. Neither have I, for that matter.
Gosh, could you imagine if something like a Xenomorph showed up in an environment such as this? Bodies would start dropping conveniently timed with your arrival there.
I think I've found Vincent!
They'd Salem witch trial burn you at the stake quicker than you have a second to blink. Of course, in real life, you would not be the tension headache you already are for these animaniacs. Reason why? You would have died in that crash landing too. Hicks dies courtesy of a support beam from the damaged ship impaling his cryotube. Newt drowns in the dirty ocean water. After being torn apart by the Queen Xenomorph, the further damage Bishop takes from the crash landing sees he's sent to the scrapyard. You got a boo-boo on your leg, a couple of bruises, and your eye, God love ya, is a little bloodshot. To be fair though, while everyone's pod looked the same, yours was the only one equipped with Weyland-Yutani manufactured plot armor protection. You're discovered by Dr. Clemens, whose favorite things are cheesy theater costume attire, looking away and commiserating something super deep, Europop slowed down with reverb, and morphine. Clemens loves to shoot up morphine. Or, as he unprofessionally puts it to patients, his special cocktail. You ask him to do you the tiny courtesy favor of letting you take a peek inside your emergency escape vehicle. He doesn't quite get why, but you're naked, and he hasn't seen a naked woman in God only knows how long, so okay. When you climb aboard though, you notice that all too familiar trace of acid attached to Newt's pod. You panic. Duh, who wouldn't who's familiar with xenomorphs? The thing is, Clemens is not. So when you demand to see Newt's dead body with a crazed, fearful look in your gross Donkey Kong nemesis eye, he doesn't quite get why, but okay. For the 75th time, Clemens tells you as a doctor he's 100% positive she drowned, and for the 75th time you're like, no, yeah, cool, I just want to be sure how she died. Clemens reluctantly rolls the body out and gives you a moment with it to do your thing or whatever. They watch you weirdly mess with the body. Sure, you're looking for signs of Xenomorph foul play, but again, Clemens knows all about them, so yeah, the guy's gonna be thrown off here. He walks back over and says, "Sweet, you scope the vehicle, examine the body, we good here?" You say, "Yeah, no, totally, we'll just do an autopsy and that'll be that." He doesn't quite get why, but okay. Wait, what? No, she drowned. Why would I need to do an autopsy? Instead of telling him the truth here, you blame cholera.
Cholera?
Yeah, cholera. The thing about that is, there hasn't been a reported case of cholera anywhere for over 200 years. But you say please, so... The guy has no clue why he's doing this. Part of him's convinced he's on one of those cable network hidden camera game shows where patience is rewarded with cash. And when it's all said and done, what's obvious prevails, and Clemens tells you the autopsy has determined, as it pertains to this little girl, we can now conclusively cholera drowning victim. Okay, you've gone through the vehicle, examined the body, and observed an autopsy. Are we good? No, yeah, for sure. Now we just gotta cremate the bodies, and that'll be a wrap. Oh god, the Superintendent Andrews and the SME to his Captain Hook Aaron, aka 85 on account of his IQ is... Take a shot in the dark. They do that thing where the boss moss will say something and the stooge 85 will then repeat back what he says. Repeats back what he says.
What's going on, Mr. Clemens?
What's going on, Mr. Clemens?
Clemens explains that they just finished an unauthorized autopsy and oof. To know Andrews is to know how insulted he feels when things are done without his knowledge and blessing in this cesspool. He hardly has any time at all to process Clemens' act of war and treason when you bring up to him now having to cremate the bodies. And the Oscar for most awfully timed remark goes to Ellen Ripley, Alien 3. This is Ellen's second nomination and win for categories involving piss poor timing. Cremate the bodies?
So we'll keep the bodies on ice.
On ice.
Clemens interjects in your defense, explaining that even though the autopsy suggests Newt drowned, it would be in their best interest to cremate the bodies rather than chance the slight risk of cholera they weren't able to detect. Before they walk away, Andrews makes it very clear to you that there are 25 criminals here, all of whom are responsible for vile acts. Not just murder, but the kind of crimes worthy of a 2-part Law & Order SVU season finale. He tells you not to mistake their belief they've found God for the truth, and to keep out of sight and mind from them without somebody present with you, because the last thing he wants to put up with is somebody disrupting the order they've worked so hard to establish, which is exactly what would happen were a woman to walk around giving them ideas. Yes, he's a piece of shit, but take to heart the fact that those 25 people he speaks of are criminally insane pieces of shit. And because this place is no longer an active prison, they aren't confined to cells or monitored 24/7. Ugh. Reason why. You're not going to take to heart any of that. How about we turn this downer vibe into a good news day? Christmas came early, gang. Cause, as Frank explains, this massive ox, or measly dog depending on the version, randomly keeled over despite being in its absolute prime. They'll cut it up and prep it later though, cause they're running late to Newton Hicks's funeral cremation memorial. But right before leaving, Murphy discovers that ox wasn't the only thing that keeled over dead. Uh-oh. I can't express enough how awkward a funeral this is. In attendance is, well, you of course, and Clemens, who, instead of devoting his thoughts to our dearly departed, cannot stop thinking of your naked body. Then there's the 25 murderers and assault predators, can't forget them, and 2 douchebags who couldn't care less about why you're all gathered there. Where there's death, elsewhere brings new life, born from the chest of that ox. It's a xenomorph, sure, but reason why. This is unlike any xenomorph you've encountered previously. We're talking heightened senses, behaviorally animalistic, faster growth somehow, and faster on its feet moving on all fours. It's all about that kill, kill, kill too, none of that cocooning bullshit. It's got a look makeover as well. The runner's not just sporting a reddish-brown hue, it's got the body of a PlayStation 1 video game character too, when in motion. Yeah, you can call this guy Alien Cubed, cause it's 3 times the suspense, 3 times the danger, 3 times the terror. To help get through this memorial mess, you take a bump much bigger than you realized. And to your surprise, as they toss Newton Hicks from a high into the furnace below, not Forrest Whitaker steps forward to provide a beautiful philosophical reflection on life, death, the suffering that comes with it, and the redemption that follows. It moves you. He, Dylan, moves you. You felt it in your heart how wrong Andrews was. Perhaps not about all 25 criminals, but certainly this one. He was different. Dylan was pure. You had to thank him. Just after you shave your head. Cause this disgusting planet of course has a disgusting lice problem.
Thanks for what you said at the funeral.
I'm a murderer and rapist of women.
Oh. You strangely decide to take a seat at his table despite what he just said so confidently and proudly, and you spend this moment either getting talked at or down to. You're told, as a woman, you're intolerable by default. The dialogue and expressions point to reason why. There's no shot at survival in a social environment like this. When you had your first encounter with this perfect organism, you weren't leading a platoon, you weren't backed by a base, you weren't surrounded by people who signed up for heroism. You were doing a job with a small crew on a commercial ship. Everyone had a role, everyone had a rank, and everyone had a reason to be tired and annoyed before the horror even started. Think back to the first conversation you guys shared after being prematurely pulled from cryo. It was about pay, distributed shares, and the bonus situation. That was a more important moment than a lot of people realize, because it's telling of what kind of group this was. Coworkers who bicker and bust balls the way only a core group of bonded humans who share an everyday reality can. When you have to band together with others in an effort to go against any threat, there are certain crucial things you need to have in order to justify putting in any effort at all. One of those things is cohesion, something the long-haul crew aboard Nostromo had by familiarity. The odds stacked against survival during that first encounter had everything to do with a lack of understanding of exactly what you guys were up against, both with the Xenomorph and the company you work for. But you know what it had nothing to do with at all? The company you kept. Cause while you ended up the sole survivor, the only reason you reached the finish line was because of that crew you could depend on with your life. On your second encounter, cohesion and bond have to be earned by both you and the others you're with. From the Marines' perspective, you completely underestimated them. They interpreted your bleak outlook on the mission at hand as a lack of faith in their ability to whatever they're tasked to up, wherever, whenever. And that was the very thing they prided themselves on doing best. Meanwhile, you felt they completely underestimated the problem ahead. You interpreted their class clown antics as arrogant naivety, something that could easily get them killed, which would see you meeting your end too. But something pretty damn cool ended up happening. Despite that tension, you came together when it mattered most. Thanks to a blooming mutual respect, along with their adaptability and willingness to suck up their pride and defer command to you, the most knowledgeable expert on the threat, you, not Bishop though, were able to make it to the end in one piece. Here on your close encounter with the third kind, for the third time, there is no cohesion to be had or gained, no respect waiting to be earned from your peers, and no Hadley's hope at all for growth or change from a damn one of these creeps. Because when you're toxic the way these losers are, you don't only not think you're toxic, you think it's God who's the fortunate one for believing in you. And the one person you do seem to get along with, who doesn't seem like an absolute scumbag, you refuse to clue in on anything Xenomorph related whatsoever. You're so staunch in your unwillingness to be truthful, when he asks what the real, not cholera issue was that you were worried about regarding Newt's body, you dodge the question by shifting the conversation to the two of you maybe practicing making a Newt of your own. The question is, why? You don't know for sure a Xenomorph is on site, but if you're worried enough to check Newt's body, convince Clemens to perform an autopsy, and then Andrews to allow a funeral cremation, cluing Clemens into what may be an issue would have been not just smart, but quite frankly, in his best interest. I mean, you're once again exhibiting major traits of mother here. Enlisting in Clemens' help, but keeping him in the dark about what it's all really about. Just seems pretty special order-ish, don't you think? Even when it becomes completely obvious a Xenomorph's crashed the prison cult party, you don't clue him in at all. While on airshaft cleaning duty, the worst chore ever when a Xenomorph is around, poor Murphy spots the primal xenomorph and ends up pied in the face by acid spit and tumbling into the ventilation fan. While investigating the scene, Andrews and 85 are quick to call it an accident, blaming Murphy's stupidity, but Clemens notices a dissolved acid marking nearby similar to the one in your escape vehicle. So of course he tracks you down meddling around without backup, just totally ignoring that warning from Andrews. You know, not to wander around without backup on a planet occupied by...
rapists of women.
Yeah.
Here you are.
And he tells you everything. Murphy's dead, took place in the air shafts, then he mentions the dried acid and once again asks you what is going on, swearing he only wants to help. You do that non-answer thing where you tell him that if he really wants to help, he'll tell you where the scrapyard is with Bishop's broken parts. It all makes so much sense now at least, because reason why? That crash landing left you severely concussed. I mean, it's gotta be either that or dementia, which would also make sense considering you're pushing 90 now. You just haven't been yourself since you arrived here. Like, if this was a movie, you'd get the feeling the writers didn't quite grasp how to write you. It wouldn't make sense if you're not severely concussed, why you'd need Bishop to tell you what's going on here. You crash landed, red flag number 1. Acid blood on the pod, red flag number 2. Now somebody died in the air shaft and there were acid markings nearby? Come on. Part of this is on Clemens for not diagnosing it, with him being a doctor and all. He explains how to get to the scrapyard, but despite knowing how unsafe it is for you to wander around on your own, tells you he can't come with because he's been summoned to the principal's office. What's the worst that can happen? I'm asking because whatever the answer is will probably happen. Things go not so bad at first. You make it to the scrapyard in one piece, and it's not long before you start to find and collect various Bishop limbs. But then, history repeats itself unfortunately, because like our soldier friends on LV-426, you get blindsided by a group of predators. They throw you down and overpower you. It's infuriating. And right when things look disgustingly hopeless, Super Dylan comes to your rescue with a pipe, because the script felt the need to hand him an undeserved hero moment to make him more likable. While you carry on trying to get answers the audience already knows, cowabunga, cause the Xenomorph strikes again inside this Ninja Turtle sewer. But this time, a witness to its existence gets away. Too bad said witness is the absolutely bat wacko yakko Golic. You close your privacy curtain before reassembling Bishop, but hold on. I'm just a little confused because you were a warrant officer whose job for the most part entailed ensuring compliance is maintained. And then you were a consultant, nothing more of course, overseeing the Hadley's Hope wellness check mission. And then you were magically promoted to lieutenant. And now, as you take the steps necessary to get Bishop back online, you're all of a sudden an engineer? Bishop confirms a facehugger made it onto your ship and caused the crash landing after triggering a fire that forced the pod's expulsion. We do learn one thing we didn't already know though. Everything that occurs on Weyland-Yutani vessels is recorded, so the company is 100% aware of this facehugger's existence. Golic's taken into the same med lab room you've sectioned yourself off in with the curtain, where he's restrained and questioned. You eavesdrop on him explaining the attack, referring to the Xenomorph as a dragon. Andrews and 85 just assume he's lying, and that it was him who killed Rains and Boggs because 1, he's totally crazy, and 2, dragons aren't real. You've heard enough and reveal yourself to the room. Oh, but they are real, I'm afraid. They so very much are. Boy, do they hate you. In a meeting with Andrews and 85, you tell them what it is they're up against, but instead of taking it seriously, they just seem amused. This is where you start to comprehend how unprepared this planet is for a Xenomorph, because there are 0 firearms on this planet.
We're f***ed.
Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. But no weapons is one no of many. Stay tuned. Ugh, Clemens, the poor guy. He asks what you discussed with Andrews and 85, and once again, you refuse to tell him. It's a wonder how he hasn't snapped yet. And you don't look so hot. You ask if they've got any COVID tests, and of course, they don't. Because if it's useful at all, it's out of stock on Fiorina. In any case, while Golic labors in pain by you guys, you and Clemens have a much-needed date night.
Here is some morphine, I'll teach you to shoot. This stuff's pretty heavy, pretty like you. Outstretch your arm, then keep it stiff and not loose. and pinpoint a vein, love and shoot. You'll love it so much, just like I love it too. Oh, what a feeling you'll not wanna lose, when addiction takes hold and all you can do is beg for more, hun, I'll get it for you. I'll get it for you. This planet is so bleak, but this stuff gets you through. Emotions are less slow, so much when you use. This stuff will consume you like I hope to too. We shoot up and moan on the floor, me and you. It makes every problem less huge. Here on Fiordina, where there's nothing to do but get high and be in a happy, good mood. When you don't have nothing left, what's there to lose?
Not for nothing, but if you continue to keep Clemens, who's not just your friend, but your only friend here, in the dark, I hate to put this on you like this, but when the Xenomorph finally does sneak up behind him and headbutts him with its teeth, his fate's in part on you. Oh wow, that was weird timing. You curl up into a panicked ball of fear for what one might argue is one of the first documented cases of clickbait ever implemented into a teaser trailer. The Xenomorph inches way too uncomfortably close to your face, then introduces you to its second mouth. But it doesn't break your face though. It just sort of lingers, and then returns to its airshaft B&B with its Clemens supper. This is normally prime reason why in real life you die material, but let's just wait and see what develops. You leave wrongfully chained Golic to his prisoned bed so you can warn the assholes who wrongfully chained him. Andrews hated you from the moment he was informed you had arrived, and his hatred's only grown. And now, in this moment, the hate's boiled over. Reason why? It's like this planet, this facility, and the people in it were carefully structured with failure in mind. For a planet whose population is made up of people who don't take no for an answer, there sure are a lot of no's to be pointed out. See, this ain't just a no firearms dilemma you got on your hands here. This place doesn't have Jack.
No entertainment center, no climate control, no video system, no surveillance, no freezers, no f***ing ice cream, no rubbers, no women, no guns. All we got here is
no modern technology, not even a radio. The only means of communication with the outside world comes from a hardly functioning computer dependent on dial-up and instant messenger. What good are flashlights if you've got no batteries beyond what you can only pray you might find at the bottom of everything here? What good are security monitors strategically placed all around if they haven't worked in years? What good is an infirmary without even a single decent piece of medical equipment? And they only had one doctor, who seemed to only have one thing to prescribe for everything from colds to flus, sore throats, and beyond. It seems to be of the common sore throat variety. Morphine should do the trick. What good is trying to come up with any sort of plan against this leveled up Xenomorph when after every strategy you come up with, you're reminded...
So I told you nothing works.
Yes, you did. Thanks. And this crew, man, they don't even get along with each other half the time. It's bicker, piss, moan, groan, shout, talk, smile weird, rinse, repeat on an endless loop. They're also forgetful, but in the most awkward way ever. Like when you finally manage to come up with something that might actually work, Dylan, the perpetual cult's grumpy asshole, feels compelled to speak up.
Why should we put our ass on the line for you?
Dude, it was your f***ing idea.
You're an officer. How about showing us a little leadership?
Now, as far as the plan is concerned, conveniently, this maximum security facility has a massive toxic waste door that if trapped inside, the Xenomorph would find it impossible to get out. The structure's walls are 6 feet thick and solid steel. The plan is to take these drums full of a highly combustible chemical called quinitracetylene and coat the corridors, air shafts, everything with it to act as a fuel source you guys will ignite to drive the Xenomorph out from the shafts and into the toxic disposal prison chamber where it will be left to rot. And you know, credit where credit's due, because everyone whistles while they work hard and you're making decent time and the vibe's not bad. But then, well, enter Frank. While climbing a ladder, silly old Frank drops his flare, and when he goes to retrieve it, drops his mouth face to face with our dragon, drops his bucket, and again, his flare. Only this time, the damn thing lands in an undeniably unfortunate spot. A lot of people die here, gang. If I'm being frank, you would too, if I had pinned the reason why. You can't duck underneath explosive waves, but who'd want to be a f*** up like Frank right now? So I'm letting it slide. This disastrous premature start should absolutely mean that trapping the primal Xenomorph is no longer achievable. But it seems the engineers above have bestowed a miracle upon you all. When our annoyed dragon steps out to see what all the ruckus is about, he immediately sets his sights on Junior. Realizing he's a goner no matter what, Junior decides to take one for the dysfunctional team and baits the Xenomorph into the toxic lockbox, allowing you guys to seal it in there. Do you guys think he's okay?
My leg!
Shh, yeah, he'll be fine. Well, congratulations! Against all odds, you managed to pull off something insanely impressive. Ah, good, yes. Free poor Golik from his undeserved bedside incarceration. You know, this has taught me not to be so quick to judge a book by its cover. I really thought these guys would be their own downfall, but uh-oh. Reason why? Golik has lost it? He now views the Xenomorph as his demonic savior and feels called to free his god from its tomb. What a dumb dick. I knew it. I knew these guys would be their own downfall. You, of course, have no idea what just happened, and you're having a lax conversation trying to convince someone with an IQ of 85 that if Weyland-Yutani gets there to pick you up and that Xenomorph is alive, they are not going to kill it. He's not buying your Kool-Aid, though. Says this thing's a destroyer. Weyland is building better worlds, so of course they would kill it. Luckily for you, you can prove they aren't going to kill it in like 20 to 30 minutes. We just have to wait for it to connect.
Welcome.
You instant message the company, letting them know you've secured the Xenomorph, and then you ask if it's cool if you old yeller it. They say no. You guys walk over to what should have been the Xenomorph's permanent dungeon, but as those you're with attempt to bounce ideas around on what to do, you can't concentrate on that at all. You're too sick. Nauseous sick. But with the planet's only doctor dead and not a damn thing on this planet working, you scurry over to the crash site to, with 85's assistance, let your own tech determine if it's COVID or something else. Reason why? It's something else. You're, pregnant. And no, it's not Clemens's, it's you're gonna have a Xenomorph. You were so concerned after seeing that acid blood on the pod that the facehugger on board got to Newt, but it turns out it got to you. Do me a favor, hit that like and subscribe button if you hate it when that happens. Oh, whoops, hold on. Okay, wow. Ignore everything I just said. You are not pregnant with a Xenomorph. You're pregnant with a queen. This isn't just a reason why, it's the ultimate reason why. An irrevocable death sentence you not only can't stop, but couldn't have prevented from happening in the first place because the facehugger got to you while you were in cryo. Because the bun in your oven's a queen, the rabid Xeno here on Fiorino will not harm you, which, let's be honest, doesn't really matter now whatsoever. Back at the only computer in the future still dependent on dial-up, you try once more to convince 85 how awful Weyland-Yutani is. He thinks you're off base here though, that all Weyland-Yutani wants to do is build better worlds. Then he insists that they could help you with their state-of-the-art, next-level, better world-building technology. You of all people know better though, and insist they cannot allow Weyland-Yutani to come there. Now that offends 85. He tells you, I don't want to be your friend anymore. You're clearly still concussed, cause what's the point of this conversation anyway? Even if 85 was like, huh, yeah, that makes sense, let's tell them not to come, they'd absolutely come anyway. Not only is it their opportunity to bag the Xenomorph running amok, you ran the test that determined your preggers on Weyland-Yutani equipment. And you should have known better too, because Dumpster Bishop specifically said Weyland-Yutani gets airdropped whatever activity might occur inside their transport property. They're not just coming now, they're running every galactic red light to get to you as quickly as possible. So you turn to the one person you can count on here. Psych! You go to Dylan and completely break your current problem down. How a facehugger must have gotten to you during hypersleep, and once the company arrives, they will take the primal xenomorph alive and use the queen that's inside of you to produce endless more. And two things. One, there's no death you'd hate to experience more than by way of chest burst, and two, the thought of repopulating this near-wiped species thanks to what they extract from you is a thought more than you can even begin to bear. So you ask him, with the utmost sincerity, to please kill you.
Go kill yourself.
You keep trying with this dude, but why? He's a
murderer and rapist of women.
The only thing Dylan gathered from what you told him was that if the Xenomorph will not lay a finger on you, then maybe that could come in handy in their effort to kill it. Effort to kill it though? As much as I hate to wear it, I gotta put my how to beat hat on, cause it's blindingly obvious what these guys need to do here in order to survive this situation. The room this lovely conversation took place in is a small holding cell, something with bars that you can close and lock, and within it lies no air shaft above you. With Weyland on their way, they should secure the whole gang inside the cell with you until they arrive. Even if the Xenomorph locates you guys, it wouldn't risk acid dissolving the bars to get to everyone else due to the fact that said acid might get on you. But hey, why survive in a dump like this? Dylan gathers everyone together and you provide them with an Any Given Sunday pep talk, bad-mouthing the company as well in the process.
They think we're crud.
Whoa, too far. Way too far. 85 can't believe your lack of respect here, and the fact that you're able to get everybody on board with one more push to kill the Xenomorph before Weyland arrives. The plan is to lure the creature through a series of corridors by having each person occupy a section, using themselves as bait to draw the Xenomorph into a chase that will end where the next person's section begins. Each time the Xenomorph clears a designated section, the person in that section will slam a pneumatic blast door shut, restricting the Xenomorph's ability to backtrack away from where they are ultimately trying to get it, the Foundry. Once it's in the Foundry, they will fire up the pistons, which will force the Xenomorph into the mold. Once it's in the mold, one of them will release a massive vat of molten lead onto it, no doubt killing its ass once and for all. Saying whether the plan works is complicated. If you mean did the Xenomorph end up where you guys wanted it, then yes, congratulations. But they're trying to kill this Xenomorph to take back their gross home, and so many people die. Vincent gets supper timed, Troy gets surprise partied, David gets skull chucked, Jude gets bug splattered, Gregor gets Goldberged, Kevin gets chew-toyed, and Eric gets panic stuck. They should have listened, man. Should have gone with you into that cell. By the time you get to the part where the Xenomorph is where you want it, in the mold, only you, Dylan, and Morse remain. It's pretty obvious that in order to keep this spastic Xenomorph within the designated splash zone, somebody is going to have to remain at the bottom with it. Dylan demands that somebody is him, despite the fact that you
wanna die!
We got a deal! Remember? It dies first, then you!
Yeah. This is beyond stupid, yet it is seen by so many as quote-unquote Dylan's sacrifice, which I totally agree with, if by sacrifice you mean he's sacrificing the opportunity to do the right thing here. You've complied, informed, helped get to where you guys are now, with the Xenomorph right where you want it, and all you want is to go out on your own terms, to not die from a Xenomorph bursting out from your chest, and the bottom line reason he won't give that to you is he thinks that if he stays down there, it will serve as redemption, which will lead to atonement. Think what you want, pal. You are not forgiven. Hasta la vista. Drop the lead, Morse. Wait, let's talk about this. The time for talk is over, bitch. That seemed to work out just as you guys hoped. Poor guy. Look how excited he is. You want to tell him, or should I, that whenever something seems to go exactly as planned, that's never actually the case. You don't know what to do at all at first, but then you remember something. During your first effort to trap this Xenomorph, after locking it inside the toxic waste storage facility, you guys turned the sprinklers on to calm the fire. And as water poured onto a very hot bucket, it immediately cracked from the rapid change in temperature. With this now enraged Xenomorph doused in molten lead, you channel your inner Indiana Jones as you race toward the sprinkler system. And sure enough, as water pours onto it, thermal shock immediately sets in, shattering the Xenomorph into pieces. You hardly have a second to catch your breath when the true franchise antagonists, Weyland-Yutani, arrive like terrorists at a die-hard work Christmas party. And they're led by the man who sculpted Bishop in his own arrogant likeness. They tell you great news! We're here to rescue you and give you a well-deserved Xenobortion on the house.
Painless.
You're not quick to kiss here, though. Something about this whole thing reeks of Hicks charred remains. Too soon? You take the moment necessary to really read the room, and yeah, you know what you gotta do. Go for it. Oh yeah, no, totally. Absolutely not. This is such a franchise high moment for me because Not Bishop looks and sounds so confident while telling you everything you'd want to hear come out of a Weyland suit's mouth. And conversely, you look so torn over what to think, believe, and do. We're gonna kill it after we remove it from you.
You don't want to take it back?
What? We couldn't let it live. That would be too dangerous. Going into the moment, I never ever would have guessed you'd ever entertain the idea of listening to half a word anyone from the company had to say. And then it's like, oh shoot, she's gonna sign the NDA, isn't she? And then in the snap of a finger, you completely shift to completely serious, and you look at him stone cold dead in the eyes and say,
No.
So emphatically. F***ing chills, man. I could watch that singular clip on loop and never get tired of it.
No.
That's your defining moment. It's the moment the few people who haven't realized yet finally comprehend that you're not a final girl, you're the final f***ing boss. It's also the moment when everything really starts to shift. Morse, who doesn't concern himself with most things, can't not react to the tension. Even Aaron, a true believer in Weyland-Yutani, can't not question that belief at this point. As you separate yourself from them, courtesy of a chain link fence, the company's prior composure unravels quickly. A Weyland film crew presses against the fencing just in time to capture a Weyland guard pop Morse in the leg with his firearm. Despite their differences, this sends Aaron over the edge, and he bashes in the back of Not Bishop's head with a blunt object. Wait, don't shoot, his IQ is only 85! F*** them. F*** them all. You check on Morse, who, if we're being totally honest here, is showing Dylan what redemption really looks like. Cause he's not consciously deciding that helping you is a good deed worthy of praise, it's obvious he just feels it's important. In an embarrassing display of true self, Not Bishop drops the confident lies strategy in favor of wallowing honesty. He's so desperate to bag and protect the queen that's inside you that it nearly completely overrides the pain that accompanies one's ear flapping half torn off his face from Aaron's attempt to take him down. He implores you to think of all the things they could learn from the Xenomorphs, but all you're thinking about is that lie that changed your life forever. You know what you have to do, and you're ready. You don't deserve to die, but you haven't deserved any of this whatsoever. At least this time, you're taking their final opportunity to weaponize these things with you. Not everybody gets to be remembered for the good they've done, but you couldn't give a Protecting the promise of a better future for humanity matters so much more than legacy ever could. And thanks. Thanks forever. Whoa, that's cool. Do you guys have a patent for that thing? Yo, I think she's waking up. You might wanna... Ooh, tread lightly.
Ow!
I'll talk to her. So, it's been a minute. If you thought almost 6 decades was a long time, say hello to 200 years. The future's pretty different. I mean, for one, everybody looks like they're on set to star in a Marilyn Manson music video. And get this, Weyland-Yutani went under, got bought out by f***ing Walmart. It was quite the bidding war too. Disney publicly executed Bob Iger III live on Netflix when Wei-Yu approved the retail giant's last-minute insane proposal. Walmart recouped a lot of the expense immediately though, cause the weapons and research divisions were absorbed by the United Systems military. The USM, turns out, is incredibly passionate about 2 things: power and classic movies. A while back, during USM's United Super Movie Night, Jurassic Park inspired quite a brilliant, stupid idea. With your extracted blood while pregnant with that queen Xenomorph, they'd resurrect David's perfect organism to weaponize it once and for all by cloning you. You can suggest it's insanity to assume your clone would be clone pregnant with a clone queen all you want, but movie science says shut up. You're probably feeling a little weird, right? That's probably because the mad scientists behind this whole thing are very weird. The cloning process was anything but clean. The you they come up with isn't exactly totally human. Your DNA is mixed with xenomorphs and Michael Jordan. You've got super strength, acidic blood, psychic xenoconnections, and mad skills on the b-ball court. Reason why? The USM's more xeno-clueless than even Weyland-Yutani was. You'd think the people undertaking such an ambitious, challenging process to unextinct the most lethal predator species in existence would have done their due diligence beforehand. But no, they do everything wrong. Instead of taking the time to study and learn all they can and should about this thing before making long-term decisions, they jump straight to funneling out as many xenomorphs as possible. Cue the arrival of the Guardians of the Galaxy with special ordered cargo. Hands up, please, sir.
Groot.
What is this special cargo? Unsuspecting, conked-out humans that are about to become incubators for fresh new xenomorphs thanks to the facehuggers they're locked inside a pod with. In return for said cargo, the Guardians are given some fat cash and a 2-day stay in their penthouse suite. Elgin tries, unsuccessfully, to have some of their succulent lemons thrown in as well. They dislike you almost immediately, after you showboat on the court and humiliate Groot.
Today, keep that hugger from my face tonight, from my face. I don't want a hug today. Keep that hugger from my face tonight, from my face, from my face, from my face, from my face.
I'm Groot. I'm Groot.
Offensive foul! A fight sort of breaks out, but you're not fazed whatsoever. It's quickly broken up, and you're both sent to timeout. Your threshold for pain and athleticism raise suspicion in Call, so she concocts a disguise plan that would see her booted from their suite so she can sneak over to you. And the Oscar for Best Actor playing Annoying Drunk goes to Annalie Call, Alien Resurrection. It goes exactly as planned. They tell her to f*** off, so she does. F***s off right over to your crate room holding area thing.
I can feel it behind my eyes. I can hear it moving. Who are you? Ripley Ellen, Lieutenant First Class, number 36706.
Get a load of this, okay? Call, if that's her real name, is a spy investigating the USM's sketchy xenoclone operation, and she was super prepared to kill you to kill the queen inside of you until she realized it's too late. She projects her own problems onto you and gives you that whole "it takes one to know one, I think you got it bad" spiel, then tells you she can take your pain away.
Okay, thanks, lunch lady.
You tell her, "No, Call, you can't." And then you show her why. You stick the knife through your hand and it just dissolves right through like piece of cake. Piece of crumb cake. You might want to see a specialist about your nails, by the way. Not judging, just, yeah. Call moves on to plan B and begs you to then help her stop them before everything goes to hell in a handbasket. Psh, lordy lordy. I remember my first beer. Look, Shaw Jr., here's the thing.
You'll never get out of here alive.
Right, exactly. Thanks. You guys cuddle for a little while and then Call walks out, just to walk into... I thought I put you in timeout, Missy. Reason why? Assumptions are a total disaster. The USM assumes they have a team in place capable of keeping the Guardians in check. That assumption is dead wrong. The USM assumes they have a team in place capable of keeping the Xenomorphs in check. That assumption is dead wrong. As supply increases, they make the absurd assumption it'll be fine lumping a 3-pack of Xenomorphs together in one cell. A cell, mind you, with classic acid-penetrable metal station flooring. Had the USM done the necessary due diligence, they'd know how smart these things are, how spatially aware, how determined, how they'd rip their own apart, not out of hostility, but as a clear means of breaking free. Most importantly, though, they'd know that when it comes to Xenomorphs, you do not act on assumptions, because assumptions will collapse every time they're put against something that is always steps ahead. Prior to this all-too-foreseeable prison escape, Gideon here assumed Xenomorphs could be domesticated, trained. Ugh, I know. Trust me, I know. The moron provokes the celled Xenomorph into attempting to second-mouth headbutt him, then hits it with a blast of liquid nitrogen as punishment. The next time the Xeno gears up to attack again, it stops itself the moment Geddyman starts reaching for the trigger. The Gooflaboof thinks this means the domestication process is working, but what he doesn't realize is, all it proves is it will never work, because it proves how intelligent the Xenomorph is. And all Geddyman is accomplishing here is pissing off a naturally anger-driven monster even more than it already is naturally. Lambert 2.0 comprehends that this is most problematic. Xenomorphs hate us for no reason instinctively, but this time around, we've given them reasons to, especially Pavlov here. How do you think he'll fare with them free to roam? Yeah, seems about right. He really thought he was training a Xenomorph. Introducing it to a new toy's more like it. Your weird ass is able to feel their escape as it's happening. You knew it was coming.
You can't stop it. It's inevitable.
It's what?
Inevitable.
One more time?
Inevitable!
And now, it's come to pass. And reason why. This ship, USM Auriga, is massive. By comparison, the Nostromo was an impressive 334 meters long. This ship you're on now, though, roughly 3,650 meters long. Over 2 miles. Xenomorphs are stealth predators that stalk, isolate, ambush, and adapt. All they know, all they need is kill or hive, and either way, you're dead. In a place as big as this, a place as dark as this, you might as well call this mansion space vessel a Xenomorph playground. Good luck finding them, and odds are they've been found you. Good luck avoiding them too. It's like they sense that and get off to saying, nice try. Reason why? This situation marks the end of mankind. As panic ensues, General Perez makes a decision that seals the fate of the entire human race. He calls for ship-wide evacuation. Auriga's artificial intelligence, known as Father, is programmed to take control and pilot the vessel to its home base, Earth, in the event of an emergency evacuation. Arriving at our home planet would be the biggest ship ever, full of dead bodies and perfect predator organisms. Also, just historically speaking, nothing good ever comes from Xenomorphs and Earth. Uh-oh, Perez! Damn! Leave a like and subscribe if you hate it when that happens. Back at the ship's YMCA facility where the Guardians took control, Call is trying to explain to the others what xenomorphs are, what these USM nutjobs are really up to behind the scenes, and just how screwed they'd be if the xenomorphs escaped. And then they hear the distant faint sound of an alarm, then screaming, and gunshots, and louder screams. And they're all in agreement. Time to get back to the Betty, their little ship, and ace this place. Which is good and fine, but one Guardian is missing from the bunch. Vries. He catches sight of a xenomorph stalking towards him from the air shaft. Doesn't know what it is, but perceives it as a threat. Knowing what he doesn't, the firearm he's got with the xenomorph above him is not a good combination given the whole acid for blood problem. He's in a unique, horrible situation here. From his perspective, that worked out great, but only cause he's paralyzed from the waist down and can't feel the drop of acid blood splatter onto his leg. When he notices it, his curiosity leads him to pick at it, which, bad idea, V. Then comes a massive drop, lands right on his ear. That'll leave a mark. Huh, well hold on. It probably wouldn't now that I think about it, cause it's acid. So the mark it would leave would dissolve into nothing. Sorry, where were we? Right. He screams! I feel like a hypocrite, cause I'd scream too. But a gun paired with shouting is the worst combination ever when multiple xenomorphs are around, cause it draws so much attention. Just saying. FYI. You know, at least when another one comes around beckoned by his squeals, he'll know better than to... Are you serious, Clark? Okay, back to you. Sorry, there's just so much happening at once in this wild, albeit predictable situation. I've never seen a xenomorph so determined to break into somewhere before. And it's complicated, you know? Because are they trying to get in there to rip you apart? Or do they, like you, feel a confusing connection as well? You're not ready to find out the answer, but you're struggling to get out of this holding cell dungeon. Before the xenomorphs escaped, you didn't see this room like that, because you never felt the need to just get up and walk out. But now that you're desperate to, and are learning not even your superhuman strength can get you out of here, how can you not find that a little controlling and weird? Sometimes, hardly ever, but sometimes, when a situation seems impossible to get out of, the solution is miraculously placed into your hand. Yes, my friend, your freaky half-acid blood. You wipe that half-acid blood off on your dungeon circuit wires, cutting off the power to everything, including the locked dungeon door. And away you slip into the darkness of the main hall. While the Guardians begin their trek back to Betty, we learn of Captain Elgin's Stage 4 attention deficit disorder. Whoa, is that a gun, brah? So cool. Whoa, is that a gun, brah? So cool. Let this be a lesson to anyone with a wandering mind. If your mind wanders, you'll wander. And if you wander, odds are a xenomorph will wander on over to say hi. The others arrive just in time to be just too late to save Elgin. But the xenomorph's still hungry. The Guardians scrattle, except Call pauses to shit her pants first though. It's a wise decision, running away, not the pants thing. The only problem is that they hit a closed door. I don't know where this door came from, but it's there, and they are now the Guardians of the Dead End. A wandering mind isn't only dangerous for humans though, and as luck would have it, this particular xenomorph has attention deficit disorder as well. Because as the xenomorph goes to move in on the Guardians of the Dead End, something moves the Elgin corpse, stealing the Xeno's attention. Say, who did that? What's the big idea? Show yourself, fool. Don't be a little bitch. You reveal it is you who is the hero they needed, but...
What the f***?
Okay, you know what? What the f*** is right? I mean, what is with people asking for your help and then reacting like you're an incapable headache when you step up to the plate for them? First Dylan, now this ungrateful jerk? They should get on their knees and thank you. With Elgin dead at the hands of something their hostage Ren played a huge part in, they demand to know how many more xenomorphs you guys can expect to have to deal with. The answer? Unfortunately, 12. In fact, here might be one now.
Who are you expecting? Santa Claus?
Okay, how the hell is Vries still alive? More importantly, how the hell does he still have 2 ears and 5 fingers on both hands? I don't know. At least your heroic act back there got you a seat on the Betty.
Groot.
Oh my god, Groot. What a disgusting thing to say. I kind of agree. As you guys walk this endless, oversized ship, something catches your eye. A door marked 1 through 7, while 8 is tattooed on your arm. Seems like one of those certain situations you walk into, then out of with
emotional damage. And here we go.
What you find is impressively worse than whatever worst case scenario you could have imagined. 1 through 7 are the 7 failed Ripley clones that came before you. A mixed bag of infuriating, tragic, and shocking. None more so, though, than the final failed clone you discover. God, it's alive too. What a mind thing. Staring at yourself, staring back, while pleading with you to put you out of your misery. Over the course of your legacy of fighting xenomorphs, one of the things you're most familiar with is torching everything in sight in a given location. This time, however, it's not eggs and face huggers and xenomorphs, it's you, and you. Ever since the xenomorphs escaped, you've been able to collect and put the puzzle pieces together how unfairly you've been treated, and how horrible humans are capable of being. You all agree that Pit Stop was overtly depressing, so the next room you guys peek into on your journey to the Betty has to be way lighter in the trauma department. This one looked interesting. Oh my god, what the hell? This... Holy shit, they got Bad Bunny, no! Seriously, what kind of ship dedicates an entire room to this? And oh, this is new. Maybe don't sniff as you move like a hunting dog in a room that smells like dead bodies. Ooh, it looks like you found something. Purvis. Lovely. He wakes up and... Someone turns the light on and...
Get away from me!
You guys show him the latest How to Beat video and... I'm being critical. He's had a long day. I get it. See, Purvis was one of the hand-delivered special cargo items bestowed upon the USM's gods, the facehuggers, as a sacrifice for the betterment of science. But for whatever reason, his big finish is taking way longer than expected.
I am Groot?
Oh, now that's a good question. How do we know the Xenobaby inside him isn't dead?
I can smell it.
Word. You tell Purvis there's a monster growing inside of him, planted by a facehugger that was planted in his cryopod by the crazy folks aboard this ship, who, for the most part, are now dead. Save for the high-ranking science scumbag behind you, Ren. Then you tell him how he got here to begin with, that he was trafficked and sold by everybody else behind you in this room. And then you tell him he's absolutely gonna die, like really soon, like the moment that monster is ready to spear dive to freedom out from within Purvis's ribcage. And then you open the floor to any follow-up questions he might have.
Who are you?
I'm the monster's mother.
What are y'all thinking disposal-wise?
I could do him. Back of the head.
Honestly, great idea, Christy. Quick and easy, really smart thinking, man.
You can't just leave him here.
The f you can't. You can and you will, young lady.
I'm Groot.
Yeah, it's an absurd thing to even pose hypothetically.
It's a bad whisk.
Yes, it is a bad whisk. But you know what's not, though, Vreese? Today's sponsor. Whisking whipped cream can be so frustrating and tiring and just such a mess. How to Beat would tell you to just use a blender, but those things take forever to assemble, and quite frankly, more often than not, they leave behind an even bigger mess. That's where the Load Velocity Mark IV comes in. 2 times the power, 6 times the battery life of the previous model. It's even got a rotating head grinder guaranteed to not scratch any surface. What I like most about this thing though is that it can literally handle any task you throw at it. We're talking hot chocolate, guac, the thing aerates eggs, you can prep baby food with it, a diet shake. Everybody loves a good diet shake, and with this thing, you can make your own. How cool is that? And gang, I know I'm not usually the bearer of good news, but buckle up because there's more. If you order one now using the code STRANGETHOUGHTS at checkout, you will receive for free their all-new X-Line product, the Extreme Eggnix Onslaught Masher Oval Round Plastic Housing Edition, For free, guys. The thing normally sells for $223. I don't need to be Don West to sell a product that sells itself the way this bad boy does. Do yourselves a favor, okay? I'm serious here. Get the brand new Load Velocity Mark IV, twice the speed, 6 times the battery power, grab your free Extreme Egnix Onslaught Masher Oval Round Plastic Housing Edition, and find out for yourself what a time saver, lifesaver, home game changer this latest product is from the brand you can trust. Weyland Utensils. Weyland Utensils, building better kitchen experiences, one home at a time. Now back to the video. Like that Christina Aguilera song, What a Girl Wants, I suppose, because Purvis is now joining the party. With how unpredictable chest bursting is, it's not technically a reason why, it's just unbelievably stupid.
What's inside me?
As we get closer to the Betty, the roadblocks start to get queued up, because in order to get to where we need to go, we have to take a detour through the mess hall and kitchen below. Guys, get a load of this sign. We've navigated Xeno-infested halls, entered one room full of nightmares and another full of death. What do they think, we're gonna draw the line at wet, slippery floors? Give me a break. Oh no. Okay, I get it now. I thought this was a spaceship, not that Titanic ship after it rammed into an iceberg. My socks are wet now, and there is nothing worse than wet socks. Ren explains that to get to the freight elevator that will take everybody up to the floor needed to reach the Betty, we'll have to swim through the fully submerged kitchen, roughly 90 feet. Ooh, before we get our Michael Phelps on, we're visited by the Exposition Fairy, who pours exposition dust on DeStefano and Christy. Christy, can your weapons fire underwater? DeStefano, yes, they are. Disposable. So yes, they can fire underwater. Geronimo we go, into the gross-ass USM water. 90 feet, that's not so bad. A football field's 360 feet, 4 times this measly 90. Oh, there they are, of course. Hey guys, you know what makes this situation total bullshit? I'd bet my entire life savings this bit was written strictly for the trailer. Groot grabs his weapon and connects with a shot that explodes one of them. It totally makes sense too, because I don't know if you know this, but their weapons can shoot underwater, cause they're disposable. The second Xenomorph's a lot more feisty. The way better swimmer too. Groot honestly did it a favor, cause the other was holding it back. Hillard's toast, no surprise there. I've been watching intently and still had to look the character name up on IMDb. That being said, have fun on the Betty without your pilot now. Okay, Michael Myers. You seriously stop and turn to watch the Xenomorph do its thing with her until she's all the way dead. Oh, you know who else is dead? Everyone. Reason why? It's a trap. You guys finally hit the surface and loudly gasp and groan while you catch your breath. And you're surrounded by eggs. In case anyone needs this information, Purvis knows what time it is. Too soon? The first egg opens and the facehugger immediately hugs your face. The rest follow suit, but instead of pouncing in the same swift manner, they wait long enough for everyone else to go back underwater. While you wrestle with that problem, it's worth noting as part of this "that's not realistic" reason why, that the Xenomorph who was just on your squad's ass is only just now almost reaching where you all are. I think it pauses from chasing y'all again though, so Christy can ready his weapon, steady his aim, and pop off enough shots to destroy the entire population of eggs. I don't know if you know this, but their weapons, they can shoot underwater, because they're disposable. Aw, look who remembers how to swim fast as hell again, right as you've pulled the facehugger off and everyone's exiting the water. You guys start climbing this scary-ass Donkey Kong arcade-looking contraption to reach the elevator. I guess maybe I must have not heard ya, Ren, when you explained this part. Thank God that kind-hearted Xenomorph is once again giving everybody a really promising head start. Ren can't get the damn elevator door open, so he insists on using Call's weapon, cause that'll do the trick. And sure, he's there because you killed his crew and kept him at gunpoint as your hostage. And yeah, he's the most evil person part of the USM by roughly 90 feet. But come on, you can totally trust him. Y'all have bonded as a unit at this point. You guys are family now. Call's like, oh for sure, yeah, if it'll help, no doubt. Say hello to your little friend. Hi, Vreese. Ren told me to say hello. Ren makes his move to leave, but you're thinking, not on my watch, pal. You precision balance, hurry your way over to him before the door. Whoa. Whoa! This might be the first time ever you didn't nick of time something. No! Also, the Xenomorphs decided that's enough of a head start. No! Okay, can we not with that anymore and say we didn't? This Xenomorph, it's built differently. It dodges bullets while ascending towards you guys, and then it launches acid spit directly into the Guardian's most tactical and best shot with a weapon. Reason why? You are not holding on. I don't care who you are. If you're gripped to a ladder and acid's thrown directly into your face, you're letting go immediately and collapsing right into the Xenomorph's lap. It's a bag one, get one BOGO sale too this time, because Christie would be taking Vreese down with him. Things get incredibly hard when Christie and Vreese swap places, and it's Vreese holding on while carrying Christie's weight. Again, in real life, Vreese lets go immediately and they both die. Groot, always trying to help when he's not trying to make things worse, tries to help, but just makes things worse. Despite the way he's built begging him not to, Groot hangs himself upside down and manages to blow the Xenomorph's head off, which sure looks cool as hell, but unfortunately results in the dead, headless weight of the Xenomorph being added to the weight Vreese is holding up. But even in Tinseltown, there's only so much one person can take. Christie comes to terms with the fact that Vreese can't hold all this weight much longer and unbuckles himself to take one for the team. Go ahead, Vreese. No! Can I just say, the Xenomorph is dead, but Christie was still very much alive, and it's not like he fell over concrete or lava. The dude literally landed in water. And guys, honestly, seemed like not that bad a drop or fall. Should we... No? Okay. Yeah, no, f*** him. Totally. The elevator signal board alarm thing goes off, which means someone's on their way up. And we've seen this god-awful party trick before. Cock those guns, boys! Oh god, it's a... Winona? But how? Ah, okay. She explained she was fine. Ren shot her stunt double, not her. You tell her, that's odd. It sure didn't smell like Debbie from where I was. Aha! Whoa! Call is a synthetic. Wow, I did not see that coming. Cue the stupid, inappropriate jokes at her expense. Get it out of your system, guys. Come on.
I am Groot.
Okay, that was way too far, man.
She's a toaster oven.
And you are toast anytime now, too. So, good one, perv. Wasn't she the dumbass that demanded you not be left alone and terrified in the biggest station ever, by the way? When everyone else said no chance in hell. As fun as it must be, taking turns making synthetic comments and asking condescending synthetic questions, why the actual hell is nobody asking Call how the hell she got to the other side of where that elevator is connected to without having to swim through xeno-infested water? Make fun of her all you want, but Call being a synthetic can really work in your favor. Ren's double cross puts him way closer to the Betty than you guys are, and the only physical terminal that would allow them access to the ship's AI to stop him is too far back to make sense trying to get to. But Call should be able to pull a bishop and manually patch in thanks to a convenient data port in a very nearby church room. Except she'd really prefer not to. It's complicated. She's a second-generation synthetic known as an Auton. While synthetics like Ashhole Ash and Bishop were designed and manufactured by corporations, Autons were designed and manufactured by other synthetics. Like David, she was programmed to feel and express real emotions. For Call, unfortunately those emotions would manifest as a profound, recursive self-loathing. She views her internal mechanics as a deformity, finding the parts underneath the skin repulsive because they contradict her desperate desire for a soul. This psychological conflict creates a functional paradox. Her synthetic capabilities are her greatest assets, yet they cause her the most emotional distress. You try to lighten her mood by telling her you can relate, seeing how you're part queen and a pinch xenophobic. I don't think DeStefano realized you were kidding though, cause he never talks to you again. But hey, it gets Call into the church at least. Once jacked into the mainframe, Call has the power to do basically whatever she wants. So she maintains course to Earth, but reroutes the landing location to a desolate area. then alters the landing structure to that of a full-blown collision rather than a safe landing. Then she just restricts Ren's access so that he can't leave. And all you guys have to do now is get to the Betty and out of Dodge before the Auriga makes impact. Before these call adjustments, you guys had approximately 90 minutes to get to the Betty, but it seems rerouting the landing location and altering the landing type to collision mode knocked that time frame down to 40. So you guys gotta bolt. Hold on, where is Kevin? Come on, this is not the Home Alone 3 you'd want to tackle. This is crazy.
Dad, wait up! Kevin!
Reason why, you strayed away from the pack while xenomorphs are amok, bud. Seems they made your death quick and painless though. That's good at least, right? Oh dear God. He would have wanted me to do this. Leave a like and subscribe if you hate it when that happens. As if things couldn't get any worse, Xenomorph mucus. Yuck! The hybrid in you pings the hives nearby and...
This is bad, right?
No, pervert. This is awesome. Of course it's bad. What kind of question is that? Everybody continues pressing forward. Everybody except for you. Well, and Call, when she realizes you've stayed behind. It's the connection to the xenomorphs that you can't shake pulling you in. A connection that is rapidly growing stronger with you so near to the hive. You can feel the queen and somehow know she's in pain. Then you discover this magnetic connection goes both ways. You're pulled down into the queen's chamber by the creche, a living, breathing biomass made of interlocking xenomorphs and organic resin. It goes without saying, most would consider this your classic horrific nightmare scenario. You react like a kid who's just discovered waterbeds are a thing. Everyone, even Groot, agrees. They're going in to save you because they can't imagine leaving without you at this point. Psych, more like see ya in hell, we're off to the Betty. While the Guardians of the Galaxy prep to leave you behind to rot, you and a particularly fetching xenomorph have a much needed date night.
Here's a cocooned loser, I'll teach you to chew. Humans are almost as yummy as you are real cute. But don't get too full, desert's coming up soon. Just bite his nose off, love, and chew.
Oh my God, I'm kidding, folks. Get your heads out of the gutter, sheesh. It's not that kind of connection. Reason why? Ren wins? After all that Auriga bullshit, you can imagine how thrilled the Guardians felt stepping back onto the Betty. Unfortunately though, they'd get no time to celebrate because not only is Pervert finally ready to pop, scumbag Ren reemerges, holding Call at gunpoint. It's a classic Tarantino standoff. And Ren says, point blank, no pun intended, if you shoot me, I shoot her, we all die, and nobody goes home. Then something happens. Something I'm not sure I will ever understand. Groot and DeStefano drop their weapons, like, you know what? True. That's a good point, Ren. They just surrendered all leverage to an absolute f***ing lunatic sociopath nutjob. Thus, he now controls the room. And do not mistake the fact that Call has control of the Auriga as leverage, because either Ren will get what he wants from her, or after a slew of cartoony eye twitches, he will pew 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 blow all their heads off. Oh, give me a Kit Kat bar. Reason why this is absurdly irrelevant? This is not how chest bursting works at all. Pervert flail runs towards Ren like a man possessed and is shot over and over and over again. But having a xenomorph gearing to make its entrance into the world through one's ribcage now suddenly makes the incubator impervious to bullets. Pervert then punches Ren and takes him down. I could maybe suspend disbelief enough to go along with the idea that rising to his feet, charging forward, and not stopping could possibly be like an uncontrollable body reaction type thing, but where you lose me is when you decide to throw deliberate punches and head bashing into the mix as well. And then Pervert goes full Mortal Kombat finisher on him.
Finish him! Alien wins fatality.
Presenting Ren with a face-burst Mortal Kombat fatality here was their only way to keep the plot alive, Because after Groot and DeStefano dropped their weapons, everyone's fate was sealed, regardless of whether or not Call would have complied with his demands or not. Because his demand was to revert back to a safe landing on Earth for the Auriga, which solidifies what a lunatic he was. And as much as you can argue the chest face burst combo was cool, the entire bit was lost on me due to how not earned it was. What is earned is your visit to your Graceland, the Queen's Thunderdome. Let's try not to lay waste to this one, please. This queen seems bigger, more technologically advanced. Also, yes, our old pal Gettymun's in the house. Cocooned, but thriving? He seems to be living his best life. Also, you weren't the only clone with abnormal hybrid rendering errors. Seems the Queen clones found herself a second human reproductive cycle. We're talking enormous womb and live home birth capabilities. While it's still in her DNA to loathe us stinky humans, she'd admit labor pain has brought her a tiny pinch of respect towards at least the female portion of humanity, which, hey, progress is progress. You've shown up at, quite frankly, Ripley 8, the perfect time, because you get to sit front row for the first ever Queen Womb Birth Showcase. Gosh, look at your daughter making Xenomorph history. They grow up so fast. Literally. What? Is that, I think she gave birth to an albino morph. I mean, it's cute though, in the specific right light. And oh my engineer, look, it wants to be with its mother.
Got your nose, bitch. You're not my real mom.
Reason why? No one wins when humans congregate to play engineer. Personally, I blame the USM's complete misinterpretation of the implied message in Jurassic Park. All playing engineer did for the USM was get everybody part of this secret, equally illegal, and unethical operation either killed or cocooned. And while the deemed failure Ripley clones suffered on until you torched them out of their misery, what exactly deems you a success when you're perpetually uncertain what you even are due to the fact that you have the 50% of your brain that is human at constant war with the half that's Xenomorph? And now you have a dead queen and a born broken hybrid Xenomorph that suffers the exact way that you do, just worse. You're a human in every way a human is, with Xenomorph inside of you trying to attack its way into more of your mind's real estate capacity. This little chap's a Xenomorph in every way a Xenomorph is, with human inside of it, terrified, confused, and trying to understand its apex predator impulses that are out of its control. Where every other Xenomorph has attacked with zero hesitation anything or anyone that dares capture its attention, this one is no different. Except, afterwards, it asks why. And this one finds dependency in you as its protector, with a heartbreakingly human ability to convey its feelings through expressions that translate its emotional state far more clearly than actual words ever could begin to. And you, somebody made from the blood of someone with natural motherly instincts paired with the ever-growing connection to xenomorphs, would, without question, find your own dependency in it as yours to protect at all cost. While little chap is disposing of Gettyman, you attempt to Getty the f*** out of there in an effort to run away from the truth, but that's why I'm here. To educate, because reason why? You can't run from the truth, silly. And contrary to popular belief, it ain't always gonna set you free. The quote-unquote friends you're running to are buckled up and launching off this station, happy to leave you behind and half assume you'll be aight. Call spots you on a nearby monitor, and to save face and make it look like they tried to get you on board, they open the cargo hatch. The gap you'd need to leap across isn't at all worth the attempt. But then you remember something.
That cheese, it went f***ing Ripley.
Oh, hey, Ghost Newt. No, this is Ripley 8, sweetie. Go back to heaven, please. As I was saying, you remember something. Your DNA is mixed with Xenomorphs and Michael Jordan. As not fun as it might be to explain away the joke, for your safety, I must inform you MJ was not involved in your creative process whatsoever, so... Oh dear, you're really gung-ho on attempting this impossible Mario long jump, huh? Take your shot, I suppose, but I'd like to go on record with my opinion.
I believe you would die. I believe you would not survive. I'm sure you will because of Hollywood. In real life, I do not think you would.
You made it. You close the hatch and then yell at Vries because you've been on the Betty for a whole 10 seconds and they still haven't departed. First of all, relag, man. Vries is simply the Guardian's mechanic, now taking on pilot duty because everybody in this universe is qualified for every space job, apparently. He says they'd be gone 5 seconds ago, but there's still a breach. Looks like you didn't close the hatch all the way, silly. Call's on it, though. No worries, guys.
Damn thing's a stubborn Gus, I'll tell you what.
I can help with that.
Gosh, thanks. I was Reason why! The truth's caught up to you! Call runs to hide, screaming for help as the Betty departs. But why? Save your voice. Nobody can hear that out here, you dummy. While attempting to reach Call so it can mutilate her, we get a brief glimpse of what seems like little chap's gut-wrenching realization of its inability to control itself. But as quick as that glimpse comes, it goes just as fast, reverting back to pure, blinding predator rage.
This thing is gonna fall apart!
Sweetheart, this thing fell apart 5 minutes in. I'm doing my best to analyze something that doesn't understand this world whatsoever, especially you. Oh, you meant the Betty, of course. Root tells DiStefano to go help Call turn on the auxiliary post. Major DiStefano, though, cause like Grandma like Grand Zeno, little chap's a little xenophobic too, it turns out. DiStefano's like, hello? I heard low to high-pitched snarl sounds. Is there an alien on board or did you crap your pants again? Something tells me it's your turn to crap your pants, Mr. DiStefano. Well, DiStefa not gonna live to see tomorrow, that's for sure. Little chap turns the poor bastard guy's head into mashed potatoes, and then stares at Call seductively while eating said mashed potatoes with his hands. Vries tries to reach Call on the comm, only the call won't go through to Call at the moment. Maybe try to call again in a little, oh, I know that face. The classic, you figured it out face. You know exactly why the call to Call when Vries tries to call won't go through.
Quick FYI, the Betty does not have a power loader handy, so you're gonna have to bash in manually.
Reason why, there'd be no stalling for time here in real life. Little chap has a little fuse, to put it mildly. We are talking uncontrollable impulse rage, to, again, put it mildly. Yet, it would appear as though Call's delayed wait time to get stuck is just long enough for you to poke your head in there and put your grandson in timeout. Instead of tearing into your face like everyone else, I'm gonna fidget with your synthetic shell part thingy until the signal.
Put it down!
Boom, it's immediate. Call is saved. Womp and womp. So what happens now? You're not thinking of killing this relentlessly loyal child who has put all of his love and trust chips on you to understand and protect it, right? Wow, really? Wow, so weak, dude. So weak of you. Looks like we're gonna have to amend something from earlier in the video, unfortunately. I'm a perfectionist, clearly, as I've spent literally 3 months straight on this video. Endless all-nighters. Anywho, your DNA is mixed with Xenomorphs, and Michael Jordan, and Casey Anthony. What's done is done. It's just kind of a shame you didn't take a moment to really consider certain things before deciding to betray this thing's trust and love it placed in you. And this is coming from the guy who is very trigger happy when it comes to calling people an idiot for inexcusable actions like keeping a threat alive when you have the chance to kill it. What threat stands before you, though, bud? This thing is troubled, yes, but there's something inside it that gives a very real shot at growth with your help and guidance. I mean, the second you said to drop Call, it did. And its actions have clearly shown there is a 0 chance of it turning on you. It watched you abandon it in the hive and did not think negatively of you whatsoever. Something else too, that you really gotta focus closely to catch is this thing's #1 uncontrollable rage trigger is breaking its concentration. When you two are first sharing a moment together, Gettymun's inability to shut up forces little chap's attention away from you, causing it to see absolute red. A short bit ago, while playing Tom and Jerry with Call, DiStefano showing up uninvited breaks little chap's concentration and it's highly unacceptable. I'm sure you can imagine for every minute Call remains out of reach from the harm little chap would like to inflict on her, its rage continuously multiplies, and right as it finally has Call where it wants her and is ready to strike, you break its concentration. Yet it doesn't even react in a hostile manner on impulse when you're the culprit of its biggest pet peeve. But I mean, they are the perfect organism after all. Perhaps impulsivity isn't a weakness they need to concern themselves with. I wish the same thing could be said regarding humans, in whatever the hell you are, but your acid blood window lub is foolish impulsivity at its finest. Reason why? Physics, the ultimate killer. Earlier, we're talking 257-ish years ago now when you powerloader fought the Queen and ended up in the airlock, you made what I referred to as the dumbest decision ever when you opened a trapdoor that would have undoubtedly sucked both you and the Queen into the endless void of space. Now all you've done is substitute trapdoor with window. The hole the acid produces on said window sucks little chap against it, trapping it in place while it suffers through one of the most gruesome deaths imaginable, allowing us to watch its incredibly expressive face the entire time as it screams in agony. Because why have an epic final fight to the end when you can end things on a bummer note that leaves everybody thrown off and sad instead? How about cry for yourself, not little chap? Because unsealing that convenient window seals everybody's fate on the Betty. The second that seal breaks, the vacuum doesn't only start ripping the insides out of little chap, it also rips the oxygen out of your blood through your lungs. You'd be looking at blacking out within probably 10 seconds, while poor little chap endures what feels like an hour and a half of utter brutality. I bet Call's starting to have less negative things to say about being synthetic, huh? Actually, no. Knowing her, she'll probably just bitch more about it for no reason. But while this blackout issue would not affect her because she's not real, nor could we say with absolute certainty it would reach Vreese and Groot, this reason why is a 1-2 punch, baby. Reason why? Home sweet nope. The fact of the matter is, the second you guys hit Earth's atmosphere, you're goners. You and your friends are dead. Game over. Because during re-entry, the outside of the ship is getting blasted by superheated air and plasma hot enough to destroy anything that gets exposed to it. A spacecraft only survives by keeping all of that heat outside. Your acid hole ruins that. It gives that heat a path into the ship, which means instead of skimming around the outside, it starts punching into the structure, burning through internal sections, weakening the vessel, and turning one little breach into the exact kind of cascading failure that destroys the whole ship and kills everybody on board. Well. Luckily for you, this reason, the one prior, every single one before that, as it pertains to this entire experience aboard the Auriga and Betty, is completely irrelevant. Reason why? You were never really here. Perhaps I contributed to the potential confusion and misunderstanding here, and for that, I apologize. It's just Ripley 8 looks so much like you. The clone itself, however, is just that. A clone produced with fuzzy Ripley memories and Xenomorph shared traits. You died 2 centuries ago in that true-to-character self-sacrifice blaze of glory death out on Fiorina. In summation, analyzing this franchise as closely as I have made me realize how insanely not survivable it actually is. Ripley or not. In Prometheus and Covenant, the human extinction was absolute, wiping out the entire crews and then claiming 2,000 colonists and 1,140 embryos at the hands of a synthetic psychopath. The entire crew aboard the Nostromo in Alien, minus Ripley, dead. Every last human in isolation, dead. Amanda might have technically survived, but factor in reasons why, and she's so very obviously part of the goners list as well. Yes, Rains and Andy got out of Dodge in Romulus, but 1. Andy is getting decommissioned the moment they reach their quote-unquote new home, and 2. History all but guarantees something snuck along for the ride and is waiting for Rains to wake up. Every single Ultimate Badass Marine, OK Guy Burke, and all 158 colonists from Hadley's Hope, dead when overlapping into Cubed. Every last cultist, and the face of the franchise itself dies by the end of 3. Morse may still be alive on screen, but without question, he is being escorted out back to get old Yellard. The guy aided Ripley in the finalized extinction of Xenomorphs, the company's final hope in weaponizing these perfect bastards. Everybody on board the Auriga is toast as well. The Guardians and Ripley ate too when factoring in reasons why. And even if you don't factor in reasons why here, it appears as though, without anyone realizing, the Auriga passed through a franchise wormhole on their autopilot journey back to Earth, and the surviving Guardians plus Ripley 8 are now on a planet overrun with rage-infected not-but-are zombies during the prime of their absolute takeover. What else can I say, other than I really hope you enjoyed this video? I apologize for the content gap. Basically, I totally underestimated what I was getting into here. But that being said, I would not change a thing.
Consequences, Dave. Consequences.
To put your all into your work when Weyland's full of scumbag jerks.
10 seconds.
I'm recording this from parts unknown.
5, 4,
Sole survivor of
2,
Nostromo.
This is Ripley, signing off.
Until next time, hasta la vista, Ripley.
Hey, Cleavage! Wake up! The show's over. Oh, yeah!